Hey everybody, welcome to the Pylon Show. And now with the best part of the show over, the intro.
It's all
I'm
downhill
not
now.
sure how to follow that up. Biggest of cheers to both Cobra Venom and Body Pop for making such a ridiculously awesome intro and graphics for this show. Just gives me chills every time I see it. Okay, well, welcome. It is episode number 69 of the Pylon Show, guys.
Nice.
Nice.
Didn't even specifically request this one. It just happened like that.
I
love
didn't
it.
even realize until Cobra Venom told me, and then I was like, oh, amazing memes. Thank God that I have Nathanius on here. Okay, so this week is a little bit different, a little bit quicker than some of the other weeks. Daylight saving time has occurred in America, but it doesn't happen. Does it happen in Australia, Maynard?
Yeah. We actually, I have to pay double tax on daylight savings time because we're also trying to run a D&D show. And they were like, here's a time bracket of when we chose. And I chose one. And since then, the time zones have moved twice. And now it's 2 hours moved from where I initially said that I could be on the show.
Whoa, that's crazy. I had no idea that you had to do it that many times.
Well, it's just that, because we're in different hemispheres, I go back while others go forward.
Oh,
So
what?
daylight savings gets
My
yeah.
God,
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah,
makes
yeah.
sense.
I have a
Everything's
headache.
so weird for you.
I have a headache. Oh,
Yeah, no, it's true. So when it's fall in one side of the world, it's spring in the other, et cetera, et cetera.
you just sprang forward while we fell back.
Exactly. Yep.
Oh man.
So now it's 2 steps forward.
Yeah. Well, Korea, we like to just have all of our shit at the same time all year. So we
Yeah,
don't
God,
do
I
that.
wish.
There's
I
there's
wish.
no daylight savings time. So we're starting an hour earlier for I guess the next 6 months. When this happened last year, it really threw me off. I showed up at the wrong time for the show. But yeah, here we are. And also KSL has started up. So yeah, anyways, long story short, this week in StarCraft will be at the end of the show. All right, so let's get into it. We have plenty to talk about here today, but well, I guess you guys have already been talking. It's foolish to really introduce you guys. How are you doing, Nathanius and Maynard?
You go first, Nate.
Oh, I was writing a fun comment in the chat because Dan said that the start of the show is at the end, which is very fitting for the episode.
Yeah. Oh, Nate, you're so funny. I just realized. Nice.
I'm very good.
Nice.
My extremely relevant experience that puts me in such a good mood, of course, is that as I was sharing with you, I just whooped some Lamar Jackson. Oh, I love it. People crutch that guy so bad. I just whoop somebody in Madden and it makes me feel good. That's all. Feels really good. I hate
Excellent.
people.
They're playing some imbalanced quarterback. Is that what you're saying?
People who pick the Ravens just so they can QB sneak with Lamar Jackson, and then I make them fumble 7 times in one game, and it feels so good. It feels so good. I'm fantastic.
I'm glad. How about you, Maynard?
For a guy that just played his first ladder games in 3 weeks and was painfully aware of how terrible I am at the video game, I feel pretty good. I just did a few hours of ladder this morning, and it had mixed results, but it was nice to be back. Nice to be back streaming. Lots of love from the community, of course.
Excellent. Yeah, I played my first ladder games in the past couple weeks yesterday. I actually went fine. I ended up at the same MMR that I started at, which is normally better than what happens on my stream. So
that's a good day.
Yeah, no, that's a good day. Let me quickly talk about the sponsors and we'll get right into the show. First off, matcherino.com/ThePylonShow. Check it out. Type in the code. It's like National Nachos Week or something, and I can get behind that one because nachos are amazing.
They are.
So the code word for this week is nachos. NACHOS. It's the greatest snack food out there, probably. Agree, disagree?
Nachos, greatest snack food. You know what? It's up there. Because it's top 5. I'm going to allow it.
Okay, yeah. It's fine to have a little bit of play with the top 5, but it's ridiculous. So definitely check out matcherino.com/ThePylonShow. Okay. Also, we have the patreon.com/ThePylonShow. And of course, this is how we do the show. So thank you everyone for supporting. This is, if you want to support the Pylon Show, if you enjoy the Pylon Show, if you want the Pylon Show to continue, you can definitely help us out right there. And we would appreciate it greatly. Of course, if you are a supporter and you want to ask questions of us that we answer each and every week at the end of the episode, check out ThePylonShow.com. There's a little button that you click there, which will bring you to where you drop in questions. Of course, we have a Discord where those will pop up as well. And a big thanks to everyone who does support for that. Also, don't forget, we do have right now in beta a set of forums, which will be coming live eventually. We're still fixing it up. But check that out. If you are a Patreon supporter in any way, you have access to those forums. Okay. I think that's about it. So without further ado, let's talk about what we are going to talk about on the show today. First up, we're going to review BlizzCon, the games, the tournament that we three casted. And talk about that a little bit, because it was a very good tournament, despite some people whining about Zerg. And then after that, I do want to jump into something that the community has been unbelievably vocal about, which is the treatment of StarCraft at BlizzCon and by Blizzard in general. But we'll do that after we talk about the games, because I don't want us going down a rabbit hole of negativity before we talk about some wonderful StarCraft that was played, which is really the number one thing that we can do. So, as far as the tournament goes, guys, obviously we saw Dark end up crushing it at the end. Yes, it was all in one day, so I guess that part has to be talked about a little bit here. But what do you guys? What are some of your impressions of this round of 8 and up?
Round of 8 and up was, I feel, a little lackluster. There was a couple good series for sure, like a couple really good series. For instance, Seral and Raynor, I thought was fantastic. That semifinal was really, really good.
Yeah.
And Classic versus Rogue. I mean, say what you want about whether they were good games, but if you watch that series and aren't entertained by Game 5, then I would probably say that you don't have eyes connected to your brain. It's it's just that series was just so incredibly entertaining. The Game 5 strats, I mean, if anyone's not seeing the tournament at this point, treat yourself to the game on World of Sleepers between Classic and Rogue. What a big, giant, adamantium, like unobtainium bowls play from Classic against like one of the greatest Zergs in the whole world. Jesus.
Yeah.
I keep like getting like, I get the skin chills every time I think about it.
I definitely gotta agree. Like Rogue versus Classic, I was certain Rogue was gonna win. I was certain of it.
Me too. Yeah.
And after the first 3 games, I was still certain of it. And then I've never cheered so hard for a cannon rush to work. Let me tell you something. All right,
yeah, no,
when Classic
so
started
weird.
busting out the cheese, I never cheered so hard for a cannon rush, and then for the cannon rusher who won against my favorite macro player to then beat him again with a DT build. This has never happened to me before, but it did.
Yeah, I was actually, I remember that I was in the green room and there was this insane cannon rush, all on one pylon, by the way. It was like one pylon powering like 15 different things. That was the Artosis pylon to end all Artosis pylons.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going, yes, Classic, cheese him, kill him, do it.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, it's a weird place to be as a fan of StarCraft 2 after all this time.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful. I agree with you. The PVZs were incredible to watch. I think what was it? I got to ask Raynor about it. He was in the green room with us after his first match, and he was like, "Well, you know," it's like I didn't want to do it, but you know, at Game 5, I have to. It's like I need to win. I was like, "Oh, it was a good match. It was a good match." A classic, of course. Seeing someone pierce the shroud of Zerg for the top 4 was really nice. I expected to be disappointed with Maru versus Dark, and I was. Dark absolutely curb stomped him.
Yeah, that was
They had to
brutal.
bring like 3 janitors back to clean up that mess. It was nasty.
They are still scraping pieces of Maru off of that stage. Even on Overwatch World Cup, I think a couple players slipped on his remains.
Some stains you can't clean off.
Yeah, it's like, oh god.
Yeah. I gotta mention, by the way, because like Raynor Trap was really good. I think it was a very close series. Definitely could have gone either way. Classic pulled out the unbelievable match. As you said, Dark like destroyed Maru. But the 3-0 of Seral versus Sue, I feel like doesn't do justice to the series. Those were 3 highly contested games. Those were some good games. Like Sue had the edge in multiple times in multiple of those games. So Like, even though it says 3-2, I feel like it felt to me like or it says 3-0. It felt like a 3-2. I don't know if you guys agree with that.
No, I actually do agree. Actually, completely. I didn't give the credit where it's due. There, it's the series. Actually, now that I remember, I just forgot about it. But the opening series between Seral and Sue is actually really fucking good. I agree with that as well. Yeah, the score is definitely not indicative of how close those games were.
And the
Yeah.
score of Dark Morrow was very indicative of how not close those games were.
Converse is like the yin and the yang there of the yeah.
Dark vs. Maru felt more like a 5-0 than a 3-0 to me, so I'm not sure the 3-0 really does it justice.
He won 5-0 in a best of 5.
Yeah,
Ouch,
no,
Howie.
it was. We had to throw the towel in almost to get that to end, unfortunately.
And Nate and I were casting it, so we actually just had to sit there and take it. But the level of violence was actually insane. It was like a 70s C grade horror movie.
Yeah,
the amount of blood they were just spurting everywhere.
No, it was too bad to see Maru fall so one-sidedly. But kind of happened again in the next round, and I kind of expected this as well, especially after Classic pulled out everything in the whole universe to beat Rogue. Like it was like a spirit bomb type moment where like the fans gave him energy and he came up with things that we have never seen to kill Rogue with, just barely. And then of course Dark just stomped him into the ground.
It was brutal, and it was actually really brutal, which is something that I actually quite like in production. But like I love to see it in esports tournaments. But brutal, as no doubt to Classic and Classic fans, is that they had a few shots of Classic mid-series against Dark, and he was actually in tears.
Yeah.
Like you could see that he was just, he was getting very emotional, and it was welling up within him. He was just like, "Oh God, this is it. I'm getting outclassed here. I'm not going to win this series." You could see it in his face, and it's really heartbreaking. But also, just that's esports, man. At the highest level, he just wanted to win so bad. It was his last tournament for the military. And he's never wanted anything more in his life, I'm sure. The poor guy.
Yeah. Well, it was amazing that he could even make it, because we were pretty sure for most of the year that he was not going to be able to even play. So it's cool that, like, I guess Kespa helped him out and he was able to get that okayed. But yeah, after such an epic win and like the cheering that happened for him in the series against Rogue, that was like intense.
He had the crowd for sure.
Yeah. The crowd wanted him more than it wanted Seral and Raynor, to be honest.
For sure. Yeah, I think so. Maybe Seral. Actually, the crowd goes insane for Seral. So it would have been interesting if it was a Seral Classic final.
Yeah.
But alas.
Yeah, it is too bad, because he really was kind of tearing up. And the thing is that's supposed to be his last tournament. I think he'll be in the military before we start up GSL next year. So it is very sad. Like, I feel like we've seen that several times through the tournament. Like, Hero should be gone now too, and he had kind of some close matches in the previous round, and now Classic going out. But a good career, lots of tournament victories. That's his third BlizzCon top 4 as well. So he's been the bridesmaid's friend multiple times now at BlizzCon.
Never the bride. Feels bad.
Feels bad, man.
And then Seral versus Raynor, of course. I mean, you already kind of spoke to that, Maynard. But what do you think, Nate, on this wonderful series?
That was an awesome match. I mean, it's unfortunate for Raynor, especially since the whole tournament played in one day. Like, a lot of his EVZ got shown. Everything that he basically had in his playbook was out there. I think when we were all sitting backstage watching that final game get played out, all I could think to myself was, I'm like, okay, yeah, no, I agree with everything that's being said here. You just get out some Vipers with these Ultras, and he should be able to get some Blinding Clouds. And then the Vipers never came. And then it was one fight that he hemorrhaged like a few of the Ultras. I'm like, oh, I don't think he's ahead anymore. And then still didn't get. And that I feel like at that point it comes down to a combination, right? Of he kind of mentioned his own jet lag, and I'm like, on that, but the length of the day definitely plays into it. And that was such a, it felt like he felt the stress, he felt the pressure of it. Raynor is really one of the few people that can beat Seral, and that was why I think made this semifinal so interesting, because I don't think that Seral loses to anybody in this bracket but Raynor personally. But that was just a crazy game, and I think he just tunnel visioned a little bit on it, and those are the mistakes that happen when everything's on the line.
Actually, I agree with you. Like, I feel like that game 5 especially is going to haunt Seral for probably the rest of his career. That game 5 where he had such an incredible lead, and then didn't seem to make the Ultralisk play happen later on. Like, that's not the first time we've seen Zergs try and go Ultra in ZVZ, but it is a rare thing to do. It's an expensive thing to do, and it's hard to do as well. And Seral just seemed like maybe he was just having an off game, which happens. He's human, or maybe he just hadn't had much experience with that style. But you could just see that he was just not finding trades. He threw his lead, unfortunately, after trade after trade. And we didn't get to talk to him about it, and I wouldn't want to talk to him about it because it's no doubt like something that's haunting him. But hopefully next event, I'd love to talk to him about that game 5.
Yeah, game game 5, I felt like when he went into the ultras, it was a good idea, and then it was just like it was very hard from there because I think it's hard to use ultras anyways. But like when he did it, it really felt intelligent in my opinion. Like it felt like a good move at that moment. But actually, Seral made a tweet afterwards. Matt, I linked that to you in the Discord, but which I found kind of interesting, right? Because it's like people questioning, like, oh, why did he go ultras? It was like, oh man, he lost an unlosable game, that type of thing. And the tweet,
every game's losable.
Yeah, well, that's for sure. Especially when ultras are involved, that really that adds another level into situations. As much as I like the ultras as a unit, it is a very difficult one to use correctly. But it basically his tweet said, I have absolutely zero clue what I was doing in game 2, and the last game stinks. Not sure how hard I threw though. Probably don't even want to even know. Good luck to Raynor in finals. Nevertheless, hope he can take it. So yeah, it seems like he was, kind of realizes that maybe he should have won, and it's like, oh, that's the type of thing you kind of, cringe a little bit at as a player. And I'm sure he'll eventually check the replay, but a painful loss for him getting top 4, which is what a weird thing to say, right? It's like you get top 4 at the World Championship after you won the previous year, and it's like, well, what a disappointment.
Seral's one of those weird cases, man. I mean, him getting eliminated from a tournament at all is actually newsworthy. He's like every tournament he joins, he is favored to win because there is no one that is favored against him. There are people that can beat him. There are people that are closely matched, but there is no one that is actually favored, which is why he's the GOAT right now.
I think the effect that it has on other players is something that maybe we won't see as much depending on how good or how on top he is next year. But the effect of Seral being so good and it being really hard to play on other servers if you're in Europe, like the practice that everyone gets, like the best player that you're practicing against is Seral. And Raynor being able to get games against him and him improving at that rate and getting so good against specifically Seral, kind of like creating that bubble where he looked so lost against Dark, to me was one of the most interesting things in the tournament. As I've already said, Dark didn't have to play ZVZ going into the final day, so there wasn't really anything for Raynor to look at. But how different those games look when you would think like, I think at worst you would be like Seral and Dark probably very close skill wise. I think that's like the least crazy thing that you could say. And the fact that it looked so different between those two players, it makes me think about like how good is everybody else's X versus Zerg in Europe when they have to play against, when like Seral's their benchmark and he's just you have to try and like pick on so many different things for a player like that. And that like it's just crazy because as soon as he beat Seral, I'm like, I don't see any way that Raynor would beat Dark in the finals. Like I don't think it'd be possible because his ZVZ has to be so different to play versus Seral.
That's interesting that you look at it that way. Like you think his skill set, because it's honed against Seral, isn't really usable against Dark?
Not that it's not usable, but I think that it's not going to make up for any slight difference in ability or talent, where I would say Dark is favored against someone like Raynor. Like in a vacuum, I would say that Dark is a better player, but Raynor did not look, at least to me in his games, did not really look competent in that final against Dark. He did everything that he wanted to do outside of a 12 pool drone rush, spine crawler rush, right? Which is like that's going to be the most binary result, like you hold or not. But yeah, to me, that's just, I thought it was an interesting part of it because we talk about how good Seral is, but Raynor has been one of the only players that can beat him. And much like the rest of the year, his Achilles heel has not been Seral, it's been somebody else.
What do you think about the Raynor Dark matchup there, Maynard?
The Raynor Dark final, I thought, I mean, obviously just as a viewer for excitement and that sort of thing, it was pretty underwhelming. It was kind of like the tournament definitely ended with a bit of a thud rather than a bang. And Raynor's only game that he won was the crazy dark like spine crawler rush thing that he did, right? But it just seemed like Dark seemed to be able to pull the wool over his eyes and just catch Raynor with his like a couple of those games from memory just ended with Dark attacking him and Raynor not being ready, which is the Korean ZVZ from what I've seen and what I understand and I'm told by pros and whatnot, it's just very attack timing based, very roach based, very like we're going to avoid the late game and just basically kill you early mid game. That's the plan with Korean ZVZ from what I understand from a lot of players. And I do think that Raynor seemed to struggle against that playstyle a little bit. Obviously, if you're playing against someone like Seral, he's not going to just do that one thing in that matchup. Seral actually has a large repertoire, but I think because Raynor and Seral are so close, there's a lot of mind games going there. So the matchup was just it's a different kind of like Raynor and Seral is not ZVZ, it's Raynor versus Seral. It's a different match. Whereas Raynor versus Dark is your European ZVZ god going up against a Korean ZVZ god. Dark's lost very few ZVZs on his side of the world. So it just seemed like his style or what Dark was throwing at him was just something that Raynor couldn't keep up with. It just felt like just as a layman looking at it,
I think that there's a lot of interesting things about specifically Dark versus Raynor because for instance, there's like a little bit of a rivalry going on. I don't know if everyone realizes as much, but the Koreans think that they're best CVZ and the Europeans think that they're best CVZ. And the thing is, I don't think that this necessarily answered it one way or another. But for instance, once Dark smashed in the finals, Solar made a nice little tweet being like, see, like Korean ZVZ is better. Finally,
I appreciate that. I actually love shit like that.
Yeah, no, totally.
It's good balance.
Like, pride in your region, hell yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is, I think that Korean ZVZ is really strong. Like I actually was predicting like backstage and stuff that I thought that Sue really had a shot against Seral. Like I felt like he absolutely could knock him out of this tournament. Of course, he did beat him in Katowice, but it's a different time right now. And the thing is, I think it was very close. Again, it felt more like a 3-2 than a 3-0. But this finals against Raynor, I felt like Seral really helped Dark to kill him. Because if you look at the game 5 of Seral Raynor, right, with the Ling Bane Muta against Raynor, and Seral just was ahead. And that's not a style that Seral's really known for playing all that much. I really felt like Dark watched that and was like, oh, I'm better at Ling Bane Muta than Seral is. Let me do that against him. Because he killed him 2 games, I believe, with that specifically, where he didn't even need to really tech up much. He just kind of rolled through and crushed everything with it. And then one other thing I just want to we have some good tweets on the screen. Solar's tweet: Korean ZVZ is way better than EU ZVZ. Finally, Dark prove it. And Lambo, of course, saying next year proper EU ZVZ will prevail once again.
It feels like Solar is like the hype man for the Korean region. And Lambo's kind of that for the EU region, specifically when it comes to ZVZ as well. Like whenever a ZVZ is played in GSL Code S, I like wanna, if I had a tweet deck, I'd like make a new column just for @Lambo SE2. So I could just wait for Lambo to just mention, like drop all of his thoughts because it's so delicious. Everything he has to say about Korean ZVZ. It's really quite nice.
Here's the part that I think is very funny. In the last season of Code S, I believe it was the round of 8 that Rogue and Dark played in, right? Round of 8 or round of 4. Yeah, maybe it was round of 4 that they played. Anyways, the last season. And it was the weirdest ZVZ series I have ever seen in my whole life. And it had that exact, like I was saying, leading up, that on that map, Dark likes Nidus Swarmhost in ZVZ. Right? Because I saw him do that multiple times. He did it in GSL. He crushed with it against Rogue, who's I think is a really great CVZ player as well. And it was funny because I was like, I actually made the comments during the GSL cast. I was like, I wonder if watching this will, like, if Seral will think that this is cool or like this is going to make him puke. I said something to that effect because it's like it was so weird and it was so out there. So of course, what I normally do when a weird Zerg game is going on is I get on Twitter and I check what Lambo's saying. And
That's the build.
Yeah, him and Raynor were kind of joking about how bad that series was ZVZ wise, but then that same strategy actually took Raynor out. I don't know.
Huh. Crazy.
So maybe it is good. Maybe that's a good strat. Maybe Stormhost Nice is just good against everything.
I mean, you're not
Yeah,
wrong.
well, hey. As long as the first wave does damage, it's all paid off.
Yeah. All right. So if Seral had taken down Raynor, what do you think that finals looks like? Because I heard some people saying they thought that Seral had what it took to beat Dark. I'm not quite as certain about that. I think Dark really had a ridiculous year, but
I think that if we were looking at Dark, like maybe back in, like back in the season 3 of Code S, and that was the Dark that showed up to BlizzCon, I actually don't even think he gets out of the round of 16. Like he was actually one map away from not even advancing. If you cast your mind back to group stages, Dark definitely did not have a clean group stage. He had a very, very clean round of 8. He only dropped one map to become the champion, which is insane, by the way. So I'm not sitting here dissing on Dark at all. Like he absolutely deserves to be the world champion. He was the better player on the day. But if that Dark showed up, I think Seral actually cleans the floor with him, and has to write a nice calligraphy letter to his parents explaining and apologizing for their son's demise. But but I think that the Dark that we saw in the round of 8 against Seral would have been a lot closer in the grand final, and I would have probably bet Seral to beat him in the end. But I don't. It's just I wouldn't have been shocked if Dark beat him. Put it that way in the grand finale. But I think that it would have been a lot closer than Dark against Raynor, unfortunately. So I think Seral's ZV Korean Zerg is a little bit better.
Okay, that's fair. Nate, what do you think?
Not to take anything away from Dark, I think it would have been way closer than the series against Raynor. I would have, like, if we were doing like a hypothetical analyst desk segment before Seral Dark Grand Final, I would pick Seral to win it. But I would see it as like a 4-3 type series either way.
It would have been very close.
Yeah, because Dark looked, especially like on that final day, and that's one of the things we talk about, right? Is on any given day your condition is going to be X, and Dark looked absolutely monstrous in the 2 series that he played leading up to the grand final. So I would not have been surprised if he had won based on the way that he absolutely obliterated his previous opponents. But I think Seral would have given a significantly more competitive final than Raynor, just because of general confidence and past experience on even specifically that stage. But Dark came to the tournament to murder, it looked like. And murder he did.
Murder he did. I think we should point out that his bracket looked very different from everyone else's. The other guys had to show ZVZs on their way up and whatnot, and he kind of, he got the only Terran, and then he got the Protoss that already showed everything in the entire universe, and then he got Raynor, who had just played, 5 of the hardest ZVZs of his life. So that definitely helped.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Dark has been a top Korean for so long. It was his second BlizzCon finals. The other one was in a metagame that did not favor Zerg whatsoever. And he still put up a sick fight against Byun, who had one of the strongest years we've ever seen any player have. So well-deserved, I think.
Just to clarify for people out there that are like, well, why would Seral do a better job than Raynor? I mean, I mentioned it before, but just to clarify again, we're not talking about ZVZ, specifically the matchup. We're talking about the ZVZ against Korean Zerg. Like Korean Zerg is not, when a European Zerg faces a Korean Zerg, that is a clash of styles. That is not just the same Zerg against the same Zerg. It's a very, very different play style. And the reason why I think Seral would be closer is because I think that his anti-Korean Zerg play is a lot better. Historically, he's been showing incredible results against Korean Zergs, like the last year, even like year and a half. He's been doing really well.
Yeah. Well, can't disagree with anything you guys have said there. Overall, where would you rate this year's BlizzCon day, not the pre-week, but the BlizzCon tournament compared to maybe a couple of the last years? Stronger,
just on
weaker?
Quality of games?
Yeah, quality of games only.
I think the quality of games was pretty high, but I would say that most of the series were not exciting to like if you find a series not being very exciting or entertaining to longtime fans, then it's sure as hell not going to be exciting or entertaining to new fans, more often than not.
Mm.
And I think that 2018 had a lot more of that. So, I mean, it's really unfair. Like, you can't beat 2018. It's insanely hard to beat 2018. The only way we would have beaten 2018 was to get the Seral Mario final and for every series to be close and everyone just, be hype and for Classic to still do Blink DTs in Game 5 and all. We do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But that was the only way to beat 2018 was to get that right. And that was just very unlikely to happen. So beating 2018 was not possible. But I think that 2019 did the grand finale top 8 did lack a lot of hype and a lot of just while the matches were very, very high level, just a lot of it's just always a shame in the top 8 to just see matches end. Just to have an attack coming and go, oh shit, I'm dead. Of course it's StarCraft and it happens, but it happened in the top 8, which was a little bit disappointing.
Yeah, I would agree. I think we had 4 really good matches and then 3 really one-sided matches, which were all Dark's matches. So Dark ruined it.
Thanks, Dark.
He crushed too hard.
He's too damn good.
Yeah.
But and also another thing to add to the round of 8 that made it not as good as 2018 is that I feel like the meta in 2018 was a little bit more entertaining.
Yeah.
For specifically like Zerg against Protoss specifically.
Yes.
ZVP in 2019 is an absolute shit show. And
ZVP sucked this year. You can say
yeah. And there were a lot of ZVPs, unfortunately. So, well, I mean, nothing wrong with having that matchup, but the current meta version of ZVP, there was a lot of it, and it was like every time we saw it, like what was the thing you were saying, Nate? Every time we saw the infestation pit go down, plus when attack was on the way in the Evo chamber,
we
just had that Silent Hill siren, just like like the whole world started, like the walls are crumbling and it's all corrugated iron, and everyone's face starts falling off and it starts turning into like the Fright Zone Silent Hill because we knew that the Nidus was coming, we knew the Swarmhosts were coming,
and you knew it was fucking over, man.
And it was actually undefeated that entire tournament. Everyone that Nidus Swarmhost won. There was, I think maybe Rogue tried to do it against Classic. I can't remember in Game 5, but it never got there. But everyone that actually managed to eject Swarmhost out of a Nidus Worm won that game. It was an undefeated strategy at the World Final in round of 16 onwards.
I think and I agree. I think for that reason alone, I still much prefer the quality of games we had last year, because whether it was a stomp or not, the games no one didn't feel like there was anything looming like that. There was maybe like, we talked, I guess it was like that pre-EMP buff, like TVP. People, Terrans always fucking complain about that matchup, but like the other matchups felt a lot more competitive. There was no like doom strategy that we were all worried about. And I felt like that was something that we kind of all went into, especially out of the round of 16. Like the community was naturally upset with the absurd amount of those Nidus Swarmhost games. And that comes down to, whether you want to question balance or not. Like, is that entertaining to watch? Not really. Is it entertaining to play? Certainly not on the receiving side of it. And just that, right? And I'm just like, well, when I think about this top 8 and I think about last year, I'm like, we had some significantly more competitive round of 8 series and just also better representation for players of all races last year too. Like, you had a couple of really good showings out of TY. I remember in the round of 8 trying to get
TY Rogue was like,
that was an awesome match. Terran players got nothing out of this top 8. Right. Maru showed up extremely flaccid, got crushed immediately. And then we went straight to, as soon as the last Protoss hero fell to Nidus Swarmhost, we went straight back to the ZVZ show. Like this, like Dark played extremely, extremely well. And I don't want to take that away from him, but this just was not as entertaining of a top 8 by any means.
Entertainment issues, meta not being interesting, and balance maps, all those things contributed to
the maps really sucked here.
Specifically for like, a lot of the parade push stuff that Terran and Protoss liked to do in a couple of those matchups. You can't, just couldn't do it on those maps.
I definitely agree with a lot of people have been saying we should use a selection of maps from throughout the year.
Yes,
it only makes sense the more I think about it. Like, people qualified for it all year long and had to play all year long to get points. So why not have the map pool from all year long? And you can actually make a sick map pool instead of whatever season 3 was, you know?
Yep. Yes. And yes, a million times. Yes.
Yeah. All right. We will try our best to get Blizzard to do that next year for the World Championships.
I think it's something that's doable, honestly. So, yeah.
Oh, I think that's the easiest call in the whole world. I would be really surprised if they aren't just like, yeah, this year, yeah, after season 3 is over, we're going to switch the ladder map pool to the best of the year, and that's BlizzCon.
Yeah.
Okay.
People. I'm just saying, like, some of the community seems to be under the impression that if a bunch of community figureheads ask for something from the StarCraft esports team, they'll be like, no, like they'll just put down their stuff and just like deny all entry, and we can't talk to them or whatever. It's not the case. We actually have a lot of input.
Yes.
If we choose to give it,
wonderful.
We actually can do a lot.
Yeah, they're good people. They're trying hard.
They are great people. They're great people.
Speaking of which, I think it's time to move on to our next subject.
Oh, baby.
Yeah, this
Can't
is
wait
what
for this
people
one.
actually are waiting for. They're sitting there twiddling their thumbs. They're like, I don't care about dark guys. Come on, let's go. So you know, there's been a lot of talk, kind of a lot of negativity, I feel like, since BlizzCon ended. I was like looking at Twitter on the on the airplane before I took off, and when I landed, I checked Reddit and stuff, and people have been pretty vocal about StarCraft at BlizzCon, just kind of how it was represented. I mean, some of the things, for instance, we only had the show was 1 day long instead of 2, so that was a lot of matches, not really resting time for the players, less desk segments, things like that. There wasn't as much StarCraft there in general. They didn't announce a whole lot. Obviously, we got the co-op commander and some other small announcements. You know, as far as panels go, everything was just kind of the Pylon show did the whole thing. I don't believe that there was any other StarCraft, true StarCraft panels.
But you had a good crowd for that Pylon show panel, but I remember. I think you were telling me that like a lot of people showed up to watch it.
It really touched my heart, actually. For anyone who doesn't realize, I forgot to mention, we did have Pylon show at BlizzCon. It wasn't on this channel, but we'll have the VOD in 4 to 5 days, and we'll throw it up on the channel as well as my YouTube. But we had Carbot on, John Burton from Carbot Animations. We had Monk, the co-op lead designer, and we had the Deep Mind guys, TLO and Oriol Vinyals. So it was a great show, and it was very nice to have a bunch of StarCraft people show up. So thank you everyone who came by. But yeah, you know, there's all that, and then there's the fact that you know, Blizzard, like for instance, released a recap video of BlizzCon, which did not have even 1 second of of StarCraft footage. So where do we start? Maybe the 1 day finals thing is a good place to start here. What are your guys' thoughts on this switch up that did get us into the beautiful arena?
It did get us into the arena, and it was what was unfortunate was, like, actually I had some people go to me and go, "Lol, Maynard keeps saying this place is packed out, but it's empty." Like, people online.
It was packed.
Well, that was the worst camera angle of all time.
Yeah, that's because they're looking at the caster camera angle right behind us. We had apparently like a bunch of empty seats, like on that second level. And I didn't realize, because when at the caster desk, I'm looking around and I'm looking at like a 200 and even a 300 degree angle, and I'm like, there are people everywhere. This place is packed to the rafters, and it's fucking loud. Like, it was packed with fans.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh guys, this place is packed. Like round of applause to yourself. And they would always cheer, and they'd always did everything you wanted. They loved it. Like, they were just, you know, I was like, you know, make some noise for Raynor, make some noise for Seral. Bam! Like, crowd was exploding. They loved it. There's tons of fans there. So we really filled out that arena. Just unfortunately, like the camera angle we had in the casters, had like one unseated area behind us that kind of threw off the perception from home. So that's unfortunate.
And to clarify for all you nerds who sit around a lot, right? We all like to sit down in chairs. We're all lazy. Okay, I'll admit it. I'm lazy too. Those were also the furthest seats to get to walking into the arena. All right, I'm gonna be honest with you. They had
probably the worst seats in the house.
They had a terrible view. You were far away from everything, and you were far away from the bathrooms. You were far away from the exits. Like, nobody would have just walked over there when they got in. Like, it was the furthest possible seats you could get to, because we were by the entrance to the arena where the caster desk was, and we had that shot set up, and then we saw the exact opposite end. So that was one of the less silly things, but
yeah. So to talk about having everything on 1 day, I mentioned it to Kerry. So for everyone watching from home, Kerry is basically there was a very public sort of step down of Adrian Harris, who's the commissioner of WCS, whatever that means. I'm not sure that was an actual role, but he was basically like the head of the StarCraft 2 esports team. He has been replaced by Kerry, who has sort of been working on the StarCraft esports team for I feel like almost as long as he has. Like
he's been there a
for
long
ages.
time. He's
a long
great,
time.
But
he's a lovely guy, funny guy, very, very passionate about StarCraft, hardworking, and very, very, what's the word, like understanding as well of like, when players or people have a problem or the show needs something, he's very, very understanding of it. And I talked to him afterwards and I'm like, hey man, I really, I think that, this show is obviously locked in stone, but there are too many things that we have to give up to be back in the arena, that if we did come back to BlizzCon, like if the world final was at BlizzCon again in 2020, then I feel like I would much rather have our different whole stage back and have it split over 2 days, because that format was just much better. Because we had, for starters, being able to go to BlizzCon and enjoy WCS any day you go in is fantastic. Like having a second day where there's just basically nothing except for we had Alpha Star, which was nice, but being able to show up for the grand finale and the final day and all these people packing, and all the shots from 2018 of just people packing up all the all the lanes, like going to all the seats and everything. It gave us technically probably a fire hazard to have all the people like backing up all the walkways and everything. But we just had thousands of people going all the way back down the hole, and we had screens and everything. And even though the arena looks amazing, I don't really want to share with Overwatch, man. No hate to Overwatch, but we couldn't do things like we couldn't have the big confetti ceremony that we've had every single year because they'd have to clean it up for the Overwatch stuff the next day. We couldn't really have a StarCraft themed stage, really. Like we did have some nice graphics and that sort of thing, but think about previous years, like in the arena, we had that when we were first in the arena, we had that big, amazing, like several $1 million light projector wall that like changed depending on the race and the map and that sort of thing, and that was fucking amazing. And the off stage that we had, that I think Mark Albert's designed, with like the had the like the APM and like all this other stuff like on the side of the stage, and still very StarCraft themed. I want StarCraft themed stuff, and I want it to be. And I think that we gave up having something that felt uniquely StarCraft. We gave up a tournament that is much nicer for not only viewers to digest, because you can have it in 2 bite-sized portions. It's better for the players. Like it's a fucking long day for the players, the casting, the crew. And the longer it goes, production's going to make mistakes, casters going to make mistakes, and worst of all, players are going to start making mistakes. And that's and we don't want guys to be tired. We don't want guys to be stressed out and run dry after a 10. I think it was like a 10-hour day, something like that. In the end, it's about 10 hours. Yeah. That's too long. I think we that's too long. I think I would much rather the format of 2018. If we can't have the arena back, so be it. We had such a lovely stage 2017, 2018. I would take that back in a heartbeat.
Our stage was way better last year. I'm just gonna say it. I didn't like the arena didn't really give us any other than like that, oh, we're in an arena type vibe. But like you're looking at 2 players competing in the most difficult, one of the most storied. There's almost no game that has the history, the reputation, the accolades that competitive StarCraft has over the last 20 plus years now. And you've got a guy sitting there in this long ass stretch that's built for 6 people for the Overwatch stuff. It doesn't look like a commander is in his, his cockpit of his fucking army getting ready to do shit. And last year's stage was really nice. It was really nice. The way it was set up, the first person perspectives on either side. Then they had the APM. They had like the random stats they were pulling from the API with like the units that they were using and their supply. It was so much cooler. And it was basically felt like they phoned this one in on BlizzCon. Like we got handed, and I'm not going to criticize the production people, but we were given the production people that were working on the Overwatch show, and they had, we ended up doing what at least I was told was very similar to their show, because that's what they had practiced and that's what they had been doing. We were given a team that wasn't doing StarCraft stuff. They had to cut so many of our segments, and the way that some of those segments were arranged was also not that great. Like having all the breakdown and intro stuff for every match be done by the casters while skipping all of the desk segments. So like Kalaris goes all the way out to California BlizzCon to do pretty much nothing the entire time.
It was
We
like 4
have
desk segments.
we have
in America.
60-second desk segments. Then we throw to the casters to do like 6 minutes of talking before the game actually starts. And I'm like, the fact that we can't audible something like this, like it everything felt so absurdly rushed, and like we were just being moved along to the point where it could end so they could get on to what they actually wanted to do. And that part of the vibe, at least for me, is what made it feel a lot less enjoyable. Whether it was for show length, like there's no excuse to make it look like the whole thing is being rushed, and just mismanagement of resources. We had a lot of talent that could have been used in the back. Kalaris, the desk, like the whole segment was just it was existed for nothing really at this tournament. Like, we didn't even get to talk about the finals after they ended because of the way everything had to be so rushed and hurried. It sucked.
Yeah. Let me like I agree with many things you said, but I want to mention, like, for instance, the esports team and the StarCraft team. They did uh like, anything we're saying isn't really directed against them.
No.
Yeah, and I
They
disagree
worked very
heavily with
hard,
the
did a great job.
phoned in part of Nate's thing. Like, I know he's just embellishing. He doesn't actually mean like so many people worked so hard.
Well,
Like, it was
it's
actually
yeah, no, people worked hard, but a lot of things were given up like that. Like, they just,
Yeah.
it wasn't. There was some high level executive decision that was made that did make it feel like what Nate's saying. I saw some people saying the production was
high-level
poor. I wouldn't
executives.
say the production was poor. I think actually the production team that we worked with. I have worked with a lot of production teams. I've been a professional commentator for 11 or over 11 years now. So I've worked with a lot of teams, and I thought this was one of the most professional, best teams I've worked with. It's just there wasn't time,
I think
for anything, and we were missing all these assets that we've had in previous years. Everything was so scrunched together. It was like the things that we cut. It didn't feel right for the World Finals, because all of us have been building these storylines. The players have been building these storylines for so long, and just to, like, the desk is a great segment where you kind of do the simmering of the hype, where it's like, no, this is coming, or this guy just beat this guy, all year. There's this rivalry and stuff like that, and you'd kind of build what's happening, and the storylines and the excitement. And I don't know, I feel like that's such an important aspect, because what are we doing if we aren't telling a story about these players all year long, right? It's like
Yep.
it's cool to just watch. Like, I mean, I watch a lot of replays. I don't get stories with those, and I love that aspect, but StarCraft 2 esports is more than that. But this felt more like tuning into, like, my stream or something, where it's like, no, it's just games, there's nothing else here.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
so, yeah, that was a little bit disappointing to me, I would say.
I also want to add on something. I agree with you in that the production team we worked with was fucking amazing. Like, they were actually treated us so well, and they were so professional. And as far as we were concerned, everything ran like a dream, like a well-oiled machine. But to give credit to people that have been criticizing the production, apparently what we experienced in the arena, and also, just making it easier for the casters and just being really, really working the casters really, really well, is that the experience watching from home was very different. There
Really?
were some, so some like audio balancing issues, crowd marking issues, some weird shots, that sort of thing. That, like a lot of the the music and stuff, or just like some of that, all that sort of stuff was criticized, which is stuff that we didn't experience because we weren't watching the show from home. So we're talking about the Twitch TV experience was
Mhm, mhm.
apparently a little lackluster. But for in the arena and for us, it was 11 out of 10. Like,
Yeah.
we had like
Yeah.
such an easy show for us to run. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, so that is something that I don't 100% know about, because I haven't watched any Twitch VODs, but I've had people tell me that the viewership from home, and people that I trust, just say the viewership from home experience was not very good.
You guys mentioned, like, maybe take back the stage we had last year, but I feel like it's like, yeah, we're back in the arena, and the arena was really cool. I liked the hanging screens and kind of the look of it. It was neat. I liked the stage, and I like the wraparound audience, even though directly behind the casters there was nobody. But um, I wonder it was even an option to have that other stage, because obviously they're utilizing all of the space within BlizzCon. It's not like there was a free stage for both days. So I almost
No.
feel like this, even though it's kind of like, yeah, we're back in the arena, I almost feel like it's more, well, this Overwatch event isn't as important because it's not Overwatch League, and StarCraft isn't as important because it doesn't have enough money.
Because
or
it's
something.
StarCraft.
Yeah.
Right. So I almost feel like we lost the other stage. We didn't gain this stage. Do you know what I mean? That's,
Yeah. No,
I don't have any information on that, but I'm just saying it felt that way.
I agree. And this got posted on StarCraft Reddit earlier today, but the Overwatch guys got shafted too, because in my discussions, I had some chats with the guys when I was like asking some questions about like our set and stuff that we had before we were going into like rehearsals before we actually did BlizzCon. And a lot of what I heard was like, well, the Overwatch World Cup is actually not getting too much more in terms of allocation than what StarCraft is getting at this BlizzCon, because it's not that Activision cares about Overwatch more, it's that they care about Overwatch League more. And there were quite a few people that were upset for very similar reasons on the Overwatch side of things. The next day, their community was talking about it. So at the end of the day, like, the two not so important, not so money making things got kicked off to the arena where we just didn't have the same assets as before. And yeah, we probably, if they wanted to get the last year's stage, they probably wouldn't have been able to, because it was easier to put the two tournaments that just weren't as big on one day each, and everybody on both sides of it. Like, even though like you could say like, yeah, oh no, it sucks, Overwatch is the reason why we only got one day, but they also kind of got screwed in the same way. And like they had problems of their own that a lot of them have been talking about in their own community.
What was in the hole that we had last year? What was in the hole this year? Does anyone know?
Was it the hall that was next to the arena? Was that the hall that we were in last year? I believe it was, right?
Yes, it was.
Okay, so that was Hall A, like Legendary Hall. That was panels. That's what was going on there for the most part, was just panels. Like, that's
Was it the art gallery that had 0 StarCraft art? Was it that?
Oh, I didn't I didn't see that, but we can get into that.
Oh, I'd love to. I'd love to talk about it.
Please talk. I want to hear. I'm not even completely up to date with everything that was missing. I was kind of busy on day 2, so I didn't get to see as much of the convention.
Yeah, no, you were a busy boy. You had things to do. You had things to worry about. So I've had some time to digest post BlizzCon, and the recap video was kind of the fuse that lit my mental powder keg. But yes,
can you explain the recap video first for people that may not be completely aware?
So Blizzard post BlizzCon did a thanks for viewing BlizzCon. Had a fantastic one. See you next year or whatever. And it was like a recap video of all the high points of BlizzCon. You know, the Jalen Brack interview, Diablo 4, all the stuff you expect. Like they got a new Overwatch 2, Diablo 4, all those things very, very important. They're in there for sure. The Hearthstone Championship had a first ever lady champion, which was fantastic. You know, they got the first ever world champion. And then there was the Overwatch World Cup, America winning the grand final. As far as esports goes, I think that was it. There was actually nothing in there at all from World of Warcraft, like the Mythic Dungeon Invitational as well, which is sort of like a PvE competitive thing. The War of Warcraft PvP was not mentioned at all. But there was one video game chat that actually had better viewership than even the Hearthstone Grand Finals, where history was made. We had, I think, 30 or 40,000 more viewers than that, than the Hearthstone, something like that. And we more than doubled the viewership of all the Warcraft things. And in fact, the day one, the day that we had the arena, StarCraft was also crushing Overwatch for the viewership. We were almost triple their viewership at one point. Maybe even more later on, because I wasn't really keeping up with it because we had things to do. We had to cast games. We had a show to put on. And sure, the second day where Overwatch was just had the stage themselves, they definitely overall had the most viewership of all the esports at BlizzCon in the end, because they had a really great final day. But it wasn't in this recap video. There wasn't a mention of StarCraft to be found anywhere. Not a single fucking word. And that to me is insane. An incredible omission, and amazing in a bad way. Incredible in a bad way. Amazing in a bad way. It's a direct slap in the face to the WCS in 2019 in general, StarCraft in general, and worst of all to Dark, who spent 2019 to become the world champion, and Blizzard's just like, I couldn't believe it. Like it's audacious. It's ridiculous. And I was already a little bit miffed before the recap video about StarCraft's treatment at the venue. So I'm going to bring up a couple things here. I actually made a little bit of a list just so I could remember. So right now, there's the BlizzCon recap, which I've already talked about. There is a Battle.net beta right now, a beta for the new Battle.net client. So a lot of you guys have probably checked it out. If you haven't, you can opt in to check out the new Battle.net client. Hopefully, this is not indicative of release, because at the moment in the Battle.net client, if you install it, there is a list of games at the top, right? There is a list of games at the top. Every single Blizzard title is in there. There's 2 games that aren't in that list, by the way. Artosis, guess which 2 games they are?
Is it StarCraft 1 and 2?
He got it.
How could that
Didn't even need 3 guesses.
How do you play then? How do you, what? How does
Good
that
question,
work?
Dan. What you have to do is you have to find a fucking hidden button in the top left of the client, which is completely unintuitive. It doesn't say games. It's just a little button that has a bunch of little squares in it. You got to click on it. You have to fucking find StarCraft 1 and 2, delete the other games off the list. By the way, Heroes of the Storm is up there, Dan. Heroes of the Storm. Heroes of the Storm is in this list, Dan. Do they have a competitive circuit? Do they have a $1 million competitive circuit? Millions and millions, not $1 million, millions of dollar competitive circuit?
I don't believe they do.
No, they don't, Dan. Do they have anywhere near the player base of StarCraft 2? I mean, is it a competitive game? I mean, and it's up there, all right? You have to actually go into this client and you have to manually add StarCraft 1 or 2 to have a button to click on it to play it. It's actually buried in the client, and I'm like, this has to be deliberate. And this isn't. That's one. Okay, we got another thing. All right. Here's another one.
That's crazy.
That is crazy. That's a fucking insane.
That's
if the client comes out like that, I will actually just shit bricks publicly, call outs, everything. I mean, I'm kind of doing it right now, but hopefully that's just a beta thing and it's a mistake. God damn, I couldn't believe it. Second of all, there's a BlizzCon art gallery. All right, there's an art gallery at BlizzCon. A lot of great art. Zero StarCraft art in the art gallery. Like it never happened. And then so this is a smaller note. And then another thing. They had a nice big Blizzard timeline wall at BlizzCon of game releases. 2010 had World of Warcraft Cataclysm.
Well, that's all that came out in 2010, man.
That's the only thing that came out from Blizzard in 2010, wasn't it, Nate?
They only
it was
released
the only
Warcraft
fucking thing that Blizzard released in 2010. What else did they release in 2010, Nate? Did they release anything?
Nothing happened on July 27th, 2010, man. Nothing.
Nothing happened. A bunch of developers from Team One just went out for a walk one day, and then they just came back. And so it just really, it can't help but feel like obviously we have to reiterate that the StarCraft team is extremely passionate. They care a lot about the game. They care as much as we do, if not more. All you guys out there watching from home, they care as much as we do, if not more. They love this game. They work so hard, and I will never, ever, ever say anything about this current StarCraft team, which is understaffed, underpaid, and just worked so fucking hard to put on a good show for you guys and to make sure the players are paid and being able to enjoy the lifestyle and to play the game professionally that they love to play. Never going to say anything bad about those guys. But whoever is making these decisions, fuck you, man. Seriously. Like, whoever's making these decisions, what have you got against StarCraft? What did StarCraft ever do to you other than be the best and most successful RTS in the history of RTS? What did it ever do to you, man? It ignited esports in the West. There would be no esports in the West. There would be no Twitch TV if it wasn't for StarCraft 2. And you won't give it a fucking 30 seconds and a fucking recap video? Who made that decision? I would love to know. I would love to have a conversation with them.
That's some weird stuff. The no art. I'm like, but isn't this like your only sci-fi IP? It seems like you should just have.
I guess it's Overwatch now, Dan. I guess our sci-fi IP right now is Overwatch.
That's
with a
true.
fucking monkey.
Does live on the moon. The monkey lives on the moon. I'm such a fool.
The monkey lives on the moon. He likes peanut butter. Eats bananas.
Winston.
Oh, sci-fi, guys.
Just look in baby Winston's eyes, Maynard. Everything is okay.
Damn. I forgot he lived on the moon. So that is sci-fi technically. So that can replace us. But
by the way,
the timeline thing the timeline thing had to just be an oversight because they had Heart of the Swarm and
That-
Legacy of the
yeah.
Void on there.
I know,
So
I
I
know.
was
That
like,
was a
okay,
mistake. That was I'm sure that was just an oversight, but it was
Still
just like
inexcusable.
it's just sprinkles on top of a really fucking shitty pie. Like it's just, it's you know what I mean? Like it's just it's just another little bit of salt inside the wounds, And I'm sure it was not deliberate. That's just a small thing. I just made a list of things, and I'm just like, what did Blizzard do to shit on StarCraft this year at specifically at BlizzCon? Not all year long, but it's been specifically at BlizzCon. And I think someone up top's just got a bug up their ass about StarCraft, man. I don't know what it is, but yeah, I had one more thing to say before I finished my tirade, but I don't remember it honestly. What were we talking about? We were just talking about the Winston,
the madness of everything.
Just oh god, I'm not gonna tirade, man. Did he bring up the media room? What media room things on me grab? Oh no, that's another thing in the media room. Okay, no, I do know this. So in the media room, this was on my list. Sorry, Zombie Grub, that's my bad. In the media room, so all the people that are there for like taking pictures, social media, that sort of thing, and promoting the WCS event and all that sort of stuff. Guess which game you couldn't play on this PCs in the media room, Dan? Guess which game wasn't installed?
StarCraft 2.
You got
and
it.
StarCraft 1 probably as well.
I mean, if there ain't no 2, there ain't no 1.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just not there.
But it just had the other games.
It just had the other games. You could play every other Blizzard title in the media room to relax and enjoy yourself.
The disconnect is, I mean, people kind of saw it coming a little bit as they've kind of tried to very publicly jump on top of stuff that isn't very Blizzard-y and is more Activision-y. And to me, one of the biggest reasons why I liked working and I was so happy to be working on a Blizzard title was because, like, and I think most people feel this way, like Blizzard games communities there's a lot of crossover and a lot of people. There's a very family-esque view that's like kind of the whole point about, like, when you would go to BlizzCon and be like, hey, you're surrounded by a bunch of people who all love the same stuff as you. And, we all play a bunch of different games, but they're all tied together in certain ways. And everybody, especially in the, years ago, you'd go there and nobody, everyone could always say a little bit of something about whether they had seen or played Blizzard titles, and you had that family feeling. And to go to something that is kind of offered and talked about and is supposed to be this warm, welcoming family event, and to be like, oh, we didn't set you a seat at the table. Sorry. Feels so bad. And it's not that we deserve more than what our bottom line can deliver to Activision, but that it doesn't cost anything to have someone who gives a single fuck, or at least to ask someone to give a fuck about reviewing.
Just even pretend to give a fuck. Show some respect.
These events do not happen without people making assets, getting them approved, submitting them, having them reviewed again. But at no point down the line did anybody stop to think, do we make a chunk, the historical part of our company's history, a cornerstone of what made Blizzard, feel like they do not fucking exist in our vision of the company in this year? And that is the worst part, because to have someone be like, hey, this fucking timeline doesn't have StarCraft 2 on it. Can we print that? It doesn't cost $1 million to do. All right. It costs 10 seconds of someone's fucking time to make that, to just ask someone who actually knows the company's products to do that. All right. It doesn't cost millions of dollars to say, hey, do we have any fucking StarCraft art so that we can at least put one thing, maybe of our new commander, make it money related if you want to. Can we put that in the art gallery? Surely there is something so that the fucking StarCraft fan who was so excited to watch Maru get shit on, flew all the way from Berlin or whatever, and paid out the ass for a BlizzCon ticket so that he could watch Maru immediately lose. And then on the second day of the event, be like, oh, I wonder what else is at BlizzCon, and see fuck all. for the game that motivated them to get invested in this company and buy a hotel and buy a plane ticket and buy a stupid expensive BlizzCon ticket so that he could get backhanded. And I don't think that's right. I think that is what really sucks, because it would not have fucking cost them anything to avoid making people feel this way. It wouldn't cost $1 million to put a 30-second clip of Tasteless shouting G fucking G when Dark wins BlizzCon.
Yeah, just
It doesn't cost $1 million to do
5 seconds,
that.
10 seconds, but Joff raised the trophy.
No, his royalty fee for that would have only been, a couple thousand.
For Tasteless, you mean, not for Dark, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a couple things that I think that are just really inexpensive ways to show some love to the game. Like, how every single time there's a round of 64, day 2 of like the 3rd division Overwatch League broadcast, the entire Battle.net client flashes to say, hey, you're trying to play a game that isn't Overwatch right now? Motherfucker, look at this button up here. You click on that Overwatch League button right the hell now and look at Overwatch League right now. You know how the client does that? Whoa, hey, did you know there's a new World of Warcraft expansion? Big thing in the Battle.net client, right? Pops up, goes dark. It's like a Windows 10 wants to update in the middle of something. It's just like right in the middle, right there. You can't ignore it. Wouldn't it just be incredible if just once, they did that for WCS? Wouldn't that be amazing?
That would be nice. So I have a couple thoughts. Like, I agree with your guys' feelings, but trying to look at this from a slightly different point of view, right? Okay, so Activision is a multi-billion-dollar company, and we are but men. So if they looked at everything in the same way with the same values we do, that would be the most bizarre thing on earth. Like, you'd never become Activision, I guess, to do that. I think that the problem here seems to be that there is no vision for StarCraft within the new leadership. When Mike Morhaime was around, right? He loves StarCraft, believes in it. Then we had leadership that saw this and thought, wow, this is going great. This is something exciting and something with a future. And it just, the people that are in charge at this point, it certainly does not feel like they think anything remotely like that. Like, of course, we've all been here enjoying this for a long time. And we've seen the views actually start to resurge and grow, as free to play has come out and co-op is getting everyone kind of excited and mixing things up. We're having great patches. We're having better and better storylines as the foreigners grow in skill. And,
first ever foreign champion, 20 something years, player base spiked so hugely in 2018. Like,
we have all this,
didn't change anything.
Yeah, we have all this awesome growth, and we can see this future because the game really is so cool and so deep and all these things. But it seems like, at this point, they're just like, okay, there's no future here. StarCraft doesn't make enough money. StarCraft 2 is old enough that it was built on a previous model of how to make money out of video games. It's not all microtransactions in anything anymore. And yeah, it's like, well, it's so relegated at this point. It's just kind of like on the side, which I kind of agree with you guys. It doesn't cost much to like put it in the video. Like, if you just show that 6 shot of Dark with the trophy for 3 seconds in that video, doesn't that make your video look better? Like, more happened at BlizzCon instead of less happened at BlizzCon?
Yeah.
Like, what? Like, what? That seems like a good shot to me. I don't know. Yeah, it's very weird, isn't it?
Yeah. And that at least would bring me to the last point that I would make on this is that, their company, they're publicly traded on the stock exchange, and their goal is to make people buy shares and make those people happy so that their shares are worth a lot of money, so that when they retire from the company, they can sell their shares and be billionaires. Like, at the end of the day, that's what corporations do, is generate that value. But if you want to keep to your fans the facade that you are a company that is about the players and the communities that those players are a part of, and all the interconnected pieces that made Blizzard as big and popular as it was, then people are going to call you out on that, because it's not possible to be a company of your community, for your players, by the players, where you talk about how great it is to be there and how you should all try to apply for jobs to work at this place because you get to play and work on the games that you love, that you grew up loving, because they're clearly sending a message that that is not the direction that they want to go in. And
yeah, I mean, sorry,
that is the reality of the situation. And if they want to have this cognitive dissonance about their objective and how they want to be perceived, that's going to create their own problems, as evidenced by, you know, the turmoil of the whole last year. But as someone who was a part of that, old part of that, and who had bought into all of this because of how Blizzard was, it sucks. It sucks to see that.
I just feel like there's like Nate's kind of mentioned it already, and really nothing I disagree with there, but like there are so many inexpensive ways to just show that you appreciate this game that would, you know, give it, like Nate mentioned, like even if all you care about is the bottom line, just to even throw the game a fucking bone and just say this game has millions of fans, which it does. Believe it or not, Chad, like a lot of people out there think that the game only has like 100,000 players. It's actually not true at all. The game has millions. It has millions of players.
You know, it's pretty clear that they're really optimizing to make maximum money, which, I mean, that's what a business is supposed to do, like you said, Nate.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know. I wish that this slightly smaller size community, you know, StarCraft 2 has been a top 10 esport forever. It literally never has not been. And there's been times where it's been number 1, and there's been times where it's been number 10, whatever. It's, you know, it's fluctuated within there, but I feel like you know, we've been around forever, and it was growing. I don't know if it's still growing right this second, but I know for the last couple of years we've been kind of going upwards, and things are going really well. And the thing is, I mean, I assume that they're going to continue to support StarCraft 2 esports, but it feels like there could be a little bit more of a vision, some sort of plan behind it. Now that being said, like I mean, whether they show us in a video or not, right? Whether they have all these little perks, like I think that they should do those. I think that from my point of view, it would be smart business. But then again, I'm not a CEO of a billion-dollar company. But I guess for me, number one priority is like, okay, are we still going to have esports looking similar next year? Okay, that's the real way that they can show support.
That's always been the priority for a lot of us, obviously.
Yeah. So nothing's really been announced yet. I kind of assume that it's going to, and so things will be fine in that regard. But yeah, there are, I guess, a lot of smaller things that are kind of like, wow, it's so wild.
But the thing is, like, sorry, Nate, you go.
No, you're good.
Oh, me? No, you hang up. All right.
I love you more.
No, I love you more. So the thing is, you know, oh God, actually, now that I've been cute with Nate, I forgot my point.
That happens.
You derailed me with your cutiness, you fucking devilishly handsome dog. You. I know, right? I'm gonna say that. So okay, I remember that growl got me back. So if I was your regular StarCraft fan, like a lot of people watching right now, after this BlizzCon, and after like a lot of the recap video and that sort of thing, I would be sitting there and I would be fucking sweating blood that there would be no WCS in 2020 because of how little love the game's been giving. And if I didn't know WCS was happening next year, I would be terrified. After like this kind of trip, it sends a bad juju, bad vibes, and bad signals out there to the fan base, to all the esports fans, you know, and negativity and that sort of thing. Like, even though, you know, we're being mostly negative right now, and we apologize for that, but we're just basically calling out something that we think needs to be called out here. It's contagious. You ever been around someone that yawns? You know, boredom, resident sleeper, negativity is contagious. But you know, but I think hype is contagious as well. And I definitely think that there's a lot of ways to put to basically make sure that our game is around for a very, very long time. And just to like make everyone stop saying doom out there, everyone that can quote me on this is like, there are a lot of ways to make StarCraft stick around, StarCraft 1 and 2, to make them stick around. And there are a lot of ways to get really like amazingly hyped for the game, to build player base, and also and also to show whoever up at the top at Activision doesn't think the game's worth a damn, to make them look fucking foolish. There's a lot of ways to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We see that Fear Dragon put out some good quality tweets that I think we spoke to a little bit about, it's very lucky for us that the team that's involved with StarCraft, the actual workers, they are really trying to make this all work out and be good.
Yeah. And I think you spoke for all of us very correctly when you're saying none of these thoughts or issues we ever address to the StarCraft team. 99% of the time, anytime I've ever asked the StarCraft esports employee or member of the team about anything like this, they've been as supportive as they can possibly be. They are doing everything that they absolutely can, and they are working on doing as much as they can for next year. Regardless of whether we have anything nailed down or not. Of course, next year is going to be 10 years of StarCraft 2, right? It's fucking crazy.
This game is big decade anniversary.
Yeah. Really interested to see how Overwatch 7 is doing in 5 years after 2015. And
it'll be a whole new art style, Nate. Everything won't look exactly the same, we promise.
my favorite thing to talk about when it comes to what esports is and what makes a game an esport is that it has to come from somewhere. There has to be people that are interested in it that make it happen before someone dumps a gasoline tank of money on it. And I say that because
true. Every new game now just has a gasoline tank of money dumped on it.
But my point is, what happened to Heroes is one of the unfortunate symptoms of not having any sort of grassroots buildup. They were entirely dependent on that. And when the plug was pulled by Blizzard, they were gone in an instant, in a flash. That's it. And the comfort that I take, and by the way, I love what we had this year for WCS. We had a ton of shows. We had a ton of great tournaments. We got back to doing the 3 GSL seasons. That was really nice.
And the prize money stayed the same, by the way. Like even though there were budget cuts around the board, it's like the players got exactly the same money.
Yeah. And a comfort for me, and I think the StarCraft community should try to keep in mind, is that if the plug were to be pulled for whatever reason next year on StarCraft 2 esports, it's still going to be around. There will still be tournaments. There will still be, and I honestly believe that one of the issues with so many things going first party and forcing these things is, as well, like smaller tournaments and leagues that pop up that do stuff, the smaller tournaments like Cheesadelphia and whatnot, it's reasonably cost effective. If you want to have a top 8 StarCraft tournament, you can get 8 amazing players. That doesn't even pay for 2 full teams for any other game. The cost to do it is there. The community has been around for forever. And you don't, at least there will be something if that were to happen. But at the end of the day, I think if this whole thing, if this tournament had happened, like the 1-day tournament, the production's rushed, barely any segments, but they put us in that video and there's like a StarCraft thing in the art gallery and they have the fucking demo of the new StarCraft thing with all the other demos, I don't think anybody makes anywhere near as much of a shit show. Everyone would just be like, yeah, we're not the big game. We got squeezed onto 1 day. That sucks. I hope we get 2 days next year. And that's really it. Then there's nothing else to be super upset over.
We would grab our criticisms and present them to the StarCraft esports team and say, hey, I think we can do better in 2020 because of XYZ. We wouldn't have any anger over just feeling like we're the fucking, like the black swan, man. Like we're just the ugly duckling, It's like, it just feels like it feels like mommy and daddy don't want us anymore.
Yeah,
they're trying to, feels bad, man.
I think that right now, because we've seen the industry go through so many different things. Like, for instance, the most hilarious thing that we're watching right now within the industry is a game gets big, gets popular, and then there's a bunch of ripoffs of it, right? And that's just like we're seeing this cycle happen over and over. MOBAs and you know, what is it called? Battlegrounds. What is it called? Like PUBG and Fortnite and
Battle Royale.
Battle
Yeah.
Royale. That's it. See, I don't even know the names of these fucking games, but look, it's kind of a funny thing, and something I kind of don't understand business wise, just as a small aside here, is like no one is looking at 1v1 games. Like it's so rare, right? And it's so weird because Activision Blizzard has the only RTS that matters, the only 3 RTS games that matter in the whole world competitively. Okay. AoE 2 is tiny compared to these 3 games. Tiny.
Yeah, they're all Blizzard games.
And that's the next biggest. Yeah. And so they basically own it until recently. I saw news that Dustin Browder left Blizzard, but they had Dustin Browder and they have Tim Morin. It's like, okay, those are 2 of the humans that know how to make RTS games. By the way, there's not many in the world. Swear to God. I mean, how many times have we brought up the other RTS games that come out and laugh on the Pylon Show? Because you just look at them and you're like, what is this? This is not good.
Jeff used to dumpster you for liking Tooth and Tail.
And we tag team dumpster Grey Goo because what a pile of
yeah. they both tag team clothesline Grey Goo into the fucking mat. Broke the chair over their back.
Well, you know, there's very few people that can actually make this type of game, and you know, they had access to basically the 2 best, and one of them is now gone. And you know, I look at this and it's so shocking. It's just more and more team games and more team games and more team games. And it's like, I mean, the fighting game community is consistently making new great fighters all the time. But the fighting games isn't the exact 1v1 game that everyone wants to play, right? What is there? There's first person shooters like Quake, which never seem to get that big anymore, which confuses me, and I'm sure it confuses you, Maynard. I love those games.
Yeah. Quake is like where I think that's honestly where my love of 1v1, like the pure aspect of dueling another person in a video game, came from. I think.
You know, there's those games, there's fighting games, and then there's RTS games, and those are the 1v1 ones. And to think that everyone for the rest of time wants to play games that play themselves and have no mechanics in them, and wants to play massive team games and stuff, it's like, yes, maybe those will always be more important, but if you completely control an entire genre that's world respected, I don't know, I feel like there should be a business plan behind that.
I do think
I don't get it, guys.
I do think one of the catalysts for this, and to me, I think this is like a cool thing from a technological side. A lot of what's popular right now wasn't necessarily possible 10 years ago, whereas
because of internet and stuff.
StarCraft was possible 20 years ago, right? StarCraft 2 was possible 10 years ago. Fortnite, 10 years ago, I don't think so. I don't think you got games like PUBG as connected as they are.
Wasn't like old Battlefield games had like 100 people in a game or something like that? Like the old Battlefield.
There were some really nuanced
60-something people.
Even then, I think you're still getting closer to like 20. I'd have to dig a bit more. I remember it was like a huge deal when the PS3 had some 60-player online game that worked really poorly.
Oh, I remember that.
It was it was really bad. And I think it was like 64. Yeah, MAG. Yeah, someone in the chat's got it. And that, those games had like their whole thing. So I think that it's a part of that fad when we were kids. Or I guess when I was a kid, if you were playing, like, that was like Xbox Live was becoming a thing when I was in like high school, and then you could actually play online against other people, and that was really cool. And now it's kind of like gone to the extreme, especially since, like, as someone who came from like a poor background, like if I could have just had the console and then the games were all free, right? And then so there's a huge market there. And I do think that at some point things kind of like stabilize when it's normal that there are these types of games out there. But we are witnessing the emergence of a genre, not just because it's new, but also because there's there are really cool aspects to being able to have massive multiplayer games that aren't just MMOs. So ideally, it becomes like a normal thing in 5 to 10 years, and we get back to seeing some better quality, not necessarily all spamming out the same type of game. But Or we do full on Soma and everybody just plays games that plays themselves for all of time, and we all become blobs.
Well, Hearthstone's got that self-play mode now.
We all
That's the way
become
it feels
faceless
like right now.
blobs living in capsules, baby.
Yep, cut my head off and put me in a jar, man. I just want to sit in there and have all my games play themselves.
Yeah.
Oh god, yeah. But yeah, there's like that auto chess Hearthstone mode now, which I got a beta key for. I haven't checked it out yet. Apparently, it's quite good, but I don't know.
Oh, you got a beta key?
But, sorry,
you got a beta
did
key
I get
for
it?
that?
Yeah, you didn't get it. Hearthstone World
No,
Champion
of course not.
Artosis didn't get it.
I only was the original Hearthstone caster.
Yeah.
Never mind, don't need it.
And champion.
That's okay. I'm just gonna play StarCrafts on stream anyways.
Of course you will.
That's another thing that pulls from some RTS stuff too. Like people are liking parts of RTS, but it's about finding a way to make that some of that modern stuff work with it. And I think that's just an unexplored avenue, really, because it's been 10 years since the best RTS came out.
Yeah. So I would like to say, in summary, because we've been pretty negative and very woe is us, but we have been a little bit in an echo chamber of sadness right now. But I do want to mention to everyone out there that, like I said, negativity is contagious, but I want to also say that once again, hype is also contagious, and good feels esports for StarCraft in 2020. It is going to be our 10-year anniversary. We can make noise about it, and also there is stuff in the pipeline development-wise for StarCraft 2. I'm not going to say, obviously can't say what it is, but I do know that there is a team that is hard at work at stuff, not only for Warcraft Reforged and stuff that's coming out soon, TM, but StarCraft 2 still has developers working on it. It's not done. It has a future. It actually has a big player base, like I mentioned. There's millions of players, only a few 100,000 play ladder, but there are millions that could potentially be convinced to play ladder, or convinced to play co-op, or convinced to play team games. Those numbers are there. That player base is out there. And I feel like it's up to us as a community to raise the middle finger to those bigwigs that think that it's a waste of time, and to make some noise about all our tournaments coming up. If you're sitting there and you're being like a fucking pizza cutter nerd where you're all edge and no point about fucking balance, or about esports, or you're like, you're just like, oh, lol, kek, this production's so bad, lol, kek, zerg, blah, blah. Go and do something for the fucking game. Get off your ass, do something for StarCraft 2, contribute to the tournament, contribute to prize pools, contribute to being like even an admin at your local tournaments, whatever. Contribute to the esport. Go do something for StarCraft 2. We'll keep doing stuff for StarCraft 2. I'm not going anywhere. Nate's not going anywhere. Dan's not going anywhere. We're all going to be soldiers for StarCraft 2 until the end. And we are going to be doing our part, so do yours as well. Whenever Home Story Cup 20, make some noise. Facebook, Twitter, fucking, LinkedIn, Grindr, Tinder, make noise and all those things. Go ham. Let your boy crush or girl crush know all about the best game in the whole world. Just make some noise on the social media, and it is contagious. I promise you.
You know what?
We can make ourselves heard. Like I promise you, we can make ourselves heard. I've seen this happen before. We can do it.
Maynard, I'm not going to lie. Grant Master League Protoss does sound way hotter than Starbucks Barista on a dating app profile.
Right?
As far as job goes.
I'd hit that.
Absolutely.
Easy. That's an easy swipe right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's you guys get what I mean. So I really do hope that everyone's watching right now. Obviously, we don't have the entire community watching right now, but the ones that are watching, the passionate few, spread the word. And every tournament that we have, make noise, get happy, and just be, and not just sit there and be like, oh, we're blessed to have anything, but just sit there and go, fuck yeah, we've got a tournament because we're the greatest game in the whole world, and other people should know about it, without being super obnoxious. Be kind.
Well, now you're asking too much.
No, I'm asking too much. I know. I'm sorry. But that's the positive spin that I want to end there. It's not the end for StarCraft 2. We're very far from it. But we can make it. We could actually make 2020 a fucking incredible year if we all put in together.
To echo that as well, just one of the best things. Did you think the best things about StarCraft that makes it unique? There are so many of them. Our history. There's so many incredible moments. There's that is something that even in the future we're still going to have over everybody else. We were one of the first games there. People, you will always be able to call back to any fan of strategy, or especially StarCraft, 10, 15 years, however long it takes for something else to come out. People are going to remember people like Flash. You're going to be like, oh, I remember when StarCraft 2 came out. Oh yeah, the first GSLs were crazy. You know, you'll meet some dude 10 years from now who's like StarCraft, and you'll be able to be like, man, how about that fucking vortex on that stupid long map Metropolis? Ay, ay, ay. You know, though in my opinion, at least for me personally, one of my favorite things about StarCraft is the history, the legacy. It's something that we own that no one else has. No amount of money can fake. No amount of money can just make out of nowhere. And it's something that we have forever, and it's something to cherish.
There are a lot of streamers out there that have like triple the subscriber count than they do average viewership. I'm one of them, you know, because of the amount of like the community actually puts its money where its mouth is, and we should continue that trend. In fact, we should dial up to Plus Ultra.
Oh, that Plus Ultra is entering the vernacular. Yeah, it's so. I mean, the show has when people get upset, it's fine. Like we got to talk about it, you know. And I think that people are frustrated and somewhat rightfully so. I would say overall, for my little StarCraft's all right thing is there's no need to be angry about any of this. I think, like, I get it.
It felt good to
anger
vent.
can rise quickly. Yeah, no, absolutely.
I think we know it very well, Dan.
Yeah. I mean, I get angry all the time. I love it.
I love getting
that. But yeah, I think it's like understanding what's going on, right? Right now, it seems like the leadership doesn't have gigantic plans or, you know, anything like that, like we talked about before. But StarCraft, like, I think it's just going to keep going kind of forever. Like, if you look at StarCraft's, because again, we have such a long history from way before esports even existed, considering StarCraft basically invented esports. There was a huge, long amount of time where Blizzard wasn't even involved at all. 0%, like literally 0%. The first time I met the Morheims, I got into a Blizzard Christmas party in Korea. And me and Tasis went over and introduced ourselves and didn't know who we were. So, you know, it was like, that's fine. Like, you know, StarCraft it's actually a good game and actually a good esport. So
it's the most natural. It's the most natural esport Blizzard owns. The other,
well,
the others,
it is.
like,
I mean,
it is.
Yeah. It's so competitive. It's so great. And the thing is, there's actually a lot to be excited about in the future. When you think about it, like, we are about to get a new patch to mix up this metagame that everyone's kind of frustrated with, except for Risky. You know, and yeah, no, his Twitter, this has been a wonderful thing that I've been watching.
He's like, oh, I feel so sorry for all the Zergs that playing Home Story Cup 20.
What's actually wrong? Is there something wrong? Okay. Funny. Thank you, Zerg player. But anyways, you know, we're getting a new patch. I mean, things haven't been announced too much for next year, but just the fact that IM Katowice has already been announced, does that not give you the hype? Right?
Yeah. And you know the production.
Has there ever been an IM Katowice? Has there ever been an IM Katowice where people haven't gone, God damn, that is either my favorite tournament of the year or top 2? Like,
it's always top 2. It's always top 2.
And it's coming. We know it's coming.
Yeah.
We know it's happening. 100%. Feels good, man.
Guess what else has happened 100%? Home Story Cup 20.
That's right. That shit's going to be awesome.
Take's been saying it should be amazing.
Yep.
Take's motivated, man. You see his Twitter?
Yeah.
Take's like, you know, he saw that round of 8 WCS and he's like, I can do better. Big words. I'm very, very excited to see what 20 looks like. I'm very, very excited. I mean, obviously it's a new balance patch. There's a lot of, you know, every BlizzCon patch, this one that shakes out the meta in the game, kind of breathes a lot of life and interest into the game as well. You know, StarCraft, they're trying to get it to a point where they don't need to patch it because they would like for it to just be, you know, viable for a lot of different play styles or different phases of the game. And then when they get there, they're going to be like, cool, you know, we're good. Yep. I think that's their intention. I don't know if they'll ever get there, but you know, that's their intention. And I love these shakeups, man. Just try stuff, throw it at the wall, see what sticks. Yeah. This new Infestor spell, maybe it's amazing, maybe it's terrible, maybe it doesn't even. Maybe that spell gets replaced with something else.
Stupid, to be honest.
It looks pretty dumb.
I'll give it a try.
No.
I will make my plug for all the Terran homeboys out there who are dying for an infested Terran war chest. Please get rid of the infested Terran as a unit. Make Fungal do 70 damage if you need to. But if you get rid of that unit, then no one will be able to stop us from getting infested Terran skins. There you go. That's my quick pitch right there.
That's right.
I want it. I need it.
Would love it. All right. Any other thoughts on what's going on with all this before we move on to our Patreon questions?
I got my vent. I feel like it needed to be said.
Totally.
I definitely don't want anger to be the driving force to all of my decisions. You know, I don't want everything that I do in 2020 to be a middle finger to whatever suit decided that StarCraft's not worth the time and money to to show attention and love to.
Well,
But
you know what? Actually, I want to stop you right there just for 1 second, because
sure,
we aren't like the business people that make the decisions within Blizzard or Activision or whatever. But in a way, when you look at it, right, we are small companies of one, because all of us base our living on making money off of StarCraft. That's how much that we believe in it. So for us, I think there's a bigger like dissonance with the decisions that we see being made, because to us it's so clear. I'm like, with no budget at all, I sit here on my computer and stream and make money, right? And as well as you do, and Nate, you do. And so it seems so clear and so obvious to us that this is a great choice to put more funding and more backing into StarCraft, because the sky is the limit, you know?
I mean it's happening in the chat right now, man. I mean, you got your whatever. Like, I don't want to.
damn.
I don't want to be like this is base production, because I feel like Cobra's doing a really good job. Even though he's kind of like moving your window around a lot, and that's kind of tilting me some. Like you kind of drop down to the bottom. Like your background keeps changing. It's kind of immersion breaking. But we also have to sort of, this guy also thinks Overwatch has a story, so it's like.
How many cutscenes will you see if you play a copy of Overwatch?
I'm sorry, Cobra. I love you, Cobra. I'm sorry.
If you
I had to do it. I had to do it. I had to do it. I'm sorry, Cobra.
How many cutscenes are actually in the game? I'm really curious.
Ripple Carry, thank you for all those gifted subs.
Yeah, and it's happening right now in the chat. Like, there's just the sub gifting all over the place, and people, like I mentioned, this community puts the money where the mouth is, man. I think that we shouldn't be sitting here worried about 2020. We should be sitting here going, "Fuck yeah, a brand new year of this video game. Let's go."
Yeah. There's a lot to look forward to. I think get it out of your system. I think we all agree.
Yeah, get it out.
We're disappointed, but I mean, dude, Night of Swarms are going to get nerfed, and then we're going to have Home Story Cup, and it's going to be on some weird Truman Show-esque island built in the middle of fucking Germany. Like, all I can think about is the Truman Show. I'm like, I don't know if they've had this idea for B-roll. You can take this one, Dennis, but I'm like, you just need to pretend that you're like, oh, I'm living my normal life, and all these StarCraft nerds show up or something. Like, make your own little bit. That's going to be so fun. I have no idea what to expect from that tournament, but I'm already like, yeah, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be on a fresh patch. It's going to be fun. I think it's exactly the right type of thing to take us out of, especially a BlizzCon like this that left us a little bit less upbeat than usual. And then to what you said, I almost forgot actually getting into this discussion, but yeah, IEM next year, which is, I'm sure
StarCraft
Sean is also feeling. Yeah, I'm sure Sean's also feeling it. Like, oh man, let's knock it out of the fucking park. Let's show that this is our house.
Guys out there that haven't seen a whole lot of Apollo lately, we see him at IM Katowice. It's basically or any IM that has StarCraft at it. And Apollo's like our hype guy. Like when it's an IM broadcast and we're going towards the grand finals, he's like, get out there and fucking kill it, guys. Remember when me and Jeff were going out to do the final of IM Katowice, he's like doing gym room, like hype up. He's like slapping us on the shoulder. He's like, get out there, kill it. I know you kill it. Like Sean is so passionate, and IM Katowice specifically for StarCraft is like his baby. He lives in that hotel for like 4 months or some shit.
He's probably already he's probably already there. Yeah, he's probably already in Katowice.
Yeah.
I mean, we lost a wonderful caster when he went over to IM, but he is one of StarCraft's great champions. There's no question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he fights so hard for StarCraft. I remember even talking to him at Gyeonggi in 2016, which was one of the saddest tournaments in StarCraft 2, IM Gyeonggi. And he was just like showing me the schedule, and he's like, dude, I'm looking at the schedule for the year, and I'm trying so fucking hard to put StarCraft anywhere in the schedule. Like he's just trying, he's like exacerbated. He's almost in tears at how much he's just desperately trying to make StarCraft events happen. And of course, in 2017, we got a bunch of great events. You know, we got to Shanghai and Katowice again and that sort of thing. Yeah. And also even like way at the top at IM, like Carmack, fucking loves StarCraft. He's told me he's like his favorite spectator esport. And a lot of the OGs just love that OG esport, and they show it respect.
It's an amazing game. That's why we're all here. I mean, damn,
Yeah,
I based my life off it for 20 years and going to continue for 20 more. And then hopefully 20 more and 20 more, we'll see.
Then you get downloaded into an AI, and then you're like, ha.
That's it.
And you
Alphatosis.
Exactly.
Have all these Artosis agents that play different races and then combine their brains into one and become the super Artosis agent, and then that one splits up.
It's like, guys, we did it.
Multiple personalities. Get rid of that Protoss one. Get him out of here.
Alphatosis
what if the final Tosis brain actually respects Protoss players in Brood War? Oh my god!
And that one broke the simulation.
Yeah.
That AI becomes self-aware.
He's deleting himself.
That's when he becomes self-aware. He's like, "Wait, I'm in a simulation. This isn't real. There's no way I'd say this."
Elon Musk was right. All right. This was a very good talk, guys.
Yeah, good talk. Good talk. Thanks for having us.
So good.
On number 69. Oh, yeah.
Well, it's time for the Patreon questions, so you guys calm right down.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Let's set a straight
You've got me
Patreon
more
questions.
excited now.
All right.
Don't forget, guys, if you want to ask Patreon questions, well, you have to be a Patreon subscriber. Go to patreon.com/ThePylonShow, and then you drop your questions once you're a subscriber over at ThePylonShow.com. Okay, here we go. From Sate Zero. Artosis has been giving my joke questions short answers, and I'm not having it this time. For the guests only. Sorry, Sate Zero.
Oh my god, wow.
Imagine Artosis wants a raise for casting StarCraft. They say gets a 2% increase for every truthfully nice thing he can say about Protoss mains. What would Artosis say? Answer on his behalf.
We have to answer on your behalf?
Yeah, truthfully nice things I would say about people who play Protoss.
Beautiful side storms, tasteless. I don't. But the thing is, but for it to be truthful, you have to believe it.
Yeah, I think that's the whole.
That's the problem.
Oh well, I've got one. Okay, wait. Oh, this has to be Brood War, right? Okay, you know what?
I don't think he hates Protoss in
StarCraft
StarCraft 2 because he plays Protoss.
As I say, this works in either game anyway, honestly. But Dan would say something like, you know, Tasteless, he's really just got such a mastery of doing so much with so few commands.
Hey, that's good. All right.
Yeah, that's actually quite nice. You should use. I mean, if you get a raise, I don't know if I can top that.
Well,
just say stuff like with this proxy gate strategy, the better player definitely won the day.
Yeah, I do.
Stuff like that.
I don't know if I mean
the better player definitely won. You know, he went all in, he threw his cards down, and the other guys just didn't have as good enough cards, and they lost. And that's just
the one thing I say where you know that I'm being sarcastic. That is the greatest tell. I'm like, oh, he must be better than me. All right, State Zero. I hope that this has satiated your need for the question. Thank you for the questions. Nahyun asks, how many Zerg players does it take to make a European tournament? Also, big tip of the hat to you both, Nathanius and Maynard. Your guys' semifinals casting really brought the roof down for me. E-gaming just wouldn't be as exciting as it is without you guys.
2019 e-gaming. Oh god, I forgot about that. Shit, we were doing that all week. God, and we brought the roof down for Seral, for Maru and Dark. Okay. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
We did what we could. Well,
we did what we could. Yeah.
I mean, Dark certainly brought the roof down on Maru's head.
Yeah, and he left him there under the rubble. Still looking for the body.
Yeah. Also, to answer the question about the tournaments, all of them. That is the answer.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Nahyun, and for the kind words. Iamora asks, I have been watching Nation Wars, and the webcam online interviews were surprisingly much more fun than what we are used to from the stage. Why do you think that is? Are players just more comfortable at home? And should more online tournaments do this, for example, WCS winter type events? What do you guys think about that?
I actually would like maybe for it to be in Challenger or something like that. That would be cool.
Yeah, that would be nice.
I think that's doable because everyone's playing from home pretty much. So any tournament where you're playing from home and you have a webcam set up, by all means. I think that honestly, comfort might be a big contributing factor. And a lot of the contributing factor there isn't just that they're home. It's also that Nation Wars has a different feel. than say a WCS or an IM or whatever when you have a stage interview. You know, those are big, serious, you know, daddy pant tournaments where you got your game face on and it's extremely competitive. Nation Wars is obviously very, very competitive, but it is a more of a community. You know, even a very, very highly produced community tournament. It is nation against nation. It's not always the who's going to be the very best that no one ever was. It's which all the WCSs and IEMs and Codesses are. So it's a different environment. So that's why I think you get different interviews. But I do agree that I think that's something that we can do for something like, say, a winter. If we have another WCS winter type event in 2020 or a challenger, I think that would be a nice addition. That'd be cool.
Yeah, it's something that I like, but like to what Maynard said, you're gonna get two very, very different MCannings if he is playing in a WCS and he gets out of his group. You know, he's gonna be more respectful. He might be funny, but it's gonna be a different tone than MCanning being interviewed as captain before a Nation Wars match where he swagged out harder than I am. I'm currently being sued right now for wearing this on broadcast because it's MCanning's. But yeah, so it's a cool thing. I like it, but I think expectations, if that were to be implemented, is something that I think need to be tempered as well.
Okay. One thing I noticed from some of the clips I saw, having the kind of team interview felt cool. Like when Riddler and Scarlet and No Regret were all kind of teasing each other. Like I thought that was maybe it has something to do with having multiple people there that all have mics at the same time and can kind of talk. Maybe that helps.
I like that. I liked how they were just like, oh, we won't even let him play.
Yeah,
we make him get we make him get up to play, but he won't play.
Right. Thank you for the question, Ayamora. Good question. Grassy Tiger asks, in regards to Zerg balance, what if they nerfed the corrosive bile damage to take 4 shots to kill siege tanks and liberators? Also, what would need to happen to make ghosts a good early game choice? Peace and love, and what flavor of tea should I get?
Man, this guy really got his money's worth. That's like 6 questions, huh?
Yeah,
wow.
Dude.
You too.
I hope you're over 6 weeks, my friend.
Can you rate? You need to raise your Patreon tier after we reply to this. All right, just I'm a whole Scout's honor on this one, man. I'm waiting for that confirmation. I've been big on. I've been liking some more like the lemongrass or whatever teas lately. So that's my official answer.
Okay.
I actually am a pretty big fan of lavender tea, which is something that I just realized existed recently. It's actually quite nice. It's one of those ones you have without milk, but it's you know, I don't think you can get like store-bought tea bags of it, but you can definitely get the tea leaves and put it in the thing and you know, be full hipster about it.
Do people put milk into tea?
Unfortunately, yes. There are people that put milk.
I thought milk tea. I thought milk tea was its own thing, and other teas you just drank normally. What?
No. People put milk in tea.
Yeah.
Like
they
in
put
general?
milk in coffee too. Believe it or not.
Yeah.
It's
but
crazy.
When it comes to like my drinks, I'm very boring. I like my coffee black and I like my tea black. That's basically it.
I thought the flavor was supposed to be whatever type of tea you chose. I guess I was wrong.
I guess so. I guess it's whatever that flavor you chose, and milk is the flavor. Okay. And then you add sugar to it, and it's like that. Anyway, Zerg balance. I mean, I don't think that corrosive bile is the problem. I guess it is. just to be real here, you know, corrosive bile. It should be good. I like that it exists. I actually think Ravager is one of the coolest units they actually added to Legacy of the Void.
Yeah, it is cool.
I like the Ravager quite a bit. But I don't think making the bile less damageable, doing less damage is actually going to do a whole lot. It'll just make Zerg worse. There are a lot more things for Zerg that are definitely, you know, but it's being addressed by the patch that are a lot more important.
I would agree.
And I've already given my T answer, but yeah.
For 2020, I'll give you guys a little bit of insider meme trading. The term that will be coined is the Reverse Liberator. Is my new official name for the Queen.
It's the Queen, yeah. We coin that one.
You know,
But she doesn't have to siege. Isn't that crazy?
Isn't that wow?
Yeah, it's a liberator that can move. It's crazy.
How about that?
How about that?
That's wild.
Well, does less damage, but does have mobility on her side, especially on creep.
You guys missed a part of the question in here.
What was the other part?
What would happen to make
Ghost
Ghost a good early game choice?
Okay, so
both Terrans.
There are some people that still think it's an okay early game choice against Zerg.
Well, TY and
there is
Special are at the top of the world. It's
TY
hard to play
and
with them.
Special. And also shout out to my man Ruff out there fighting the good fight, going
Oh,
early
yeah,
game
he
against
likes Ghost, yeah.
Zerg and nuke rushing.
Yeah.
But yeah, the spooky mech thing, you know, the snipe Hellbat rush was one of the coolest strats that Terran had against Zerg for a hot minute.
Yeah.
That was way back in the day though, early 2018.
Like any non-Hellion opening, you have to have medevacs to move out with any unit that's slow or expensive like that, especially for the same reason that you wouldn't do like I'm just going to do like a little marine shove at the start of the game. Like you wouldn't be like, I'm just going to do a little ghost shove. You'd probably see more of them if, I guess the biggest thing would probably be some sort of adjustment for the snipe to feel like it has better value. Because the problem is the snipe has way better. It's stupidly cost effective versus late game units, which is why you bring it out in the late game. But it doesn't make sense to open up with a few snipes to try and kill anything other than like maybe roaches or a queen or two. But like what kills the ghosts early on are not units that the ghosts would be usually in a position to fight against. And you could, I mean, the counter argument maybe is, well, they 2-shot lings, but how many ghosts can you realistically have? If a Zerg wants to build 30 lings at the start of the game, they can easily. You know, you're not going to have enough ghosts and medevacs to be able to do anything. It's just the unit would need like quite a bit of a change, really. Like it's just, I think it just has to do with their role in terms of the design for what they're supposed to be good at in the matchup or in any matchup, really. Surprisingly good early in TVT if you're rough, by the way.
Now those were intelligent, well thought out responses based on the way the game is. But what if you gave the ghost stim?
I was about to say that.
Increase fire rate.
Well, I would just. Oh, it didn't increase fire rate?
Yeah, just movement.
Then but also give it combat drugs.
Oh shit! Imagine if the ghost with all its fucking hit points and tankiness, man, it just regenerated its hit points.
And here's the lore post. Here's the lore post, guys. The ghost psionic potential. We realized that not only were they capable of using the drugs our other soldiers had, but they could use all the drugs at the same time because they're psionic units and they're super powered. There you go. But that it'd be officially in the lore. Ghosts can take every hard drug that exists at the same time with no negative side effects.
I'm gone.
Excellent.
There you go.
All right.
We figured it out.
Oh, and I'm going to give a T answer too. An answer a little bit different. Try out some ginseng tea with a bit of honey in it. It's really good, and it's very healthy for you.
Ooh.
That's something that I don't know if you can get where you are, but yeah, no, ginseng tea I actually quite like it. When somewhere has it, I'll have a cup. But yeah, you got to put a little honey in it though. That's important. All right, thank you for the question, Grassy Tiger. Pylon Pefo asks, Dear Artosis and awesome guests, I want to play random in both StarCraft 1 and 2 the next few weeks. One build order for every matchup focused on both micro and macro, so no cheese. I know it's 18, but could you suggest me a couple hard to pull off but satisfying build orders for specific matchups?
I know it's 18. What's 18?
Well, for 18. All the games and all the races.
Yeah. There would be 18 matchups for him to have.
I thought the other guy, the last guy was asking for a lot from his end.
Yeah,
this guy wants us to give him the StarCraft Nomicon here.
Good micro macro things that feel good. They're hard to do, but feel good.
You know what's great? Because you're random, so you're gonna get the shit cheesed out of you. So when you're playing Terran, you do a gasless expand, you build a fast bunker, you go up to 1-1-1 immediately after you expand, get tanks, rush a battle cruiser behind it. Your marine tank holds off whatever all-in is coming your way. Then the battle cruiser finishes, you teleport it into their base and collect your ladder points. There you go. It's not crazy. It's not the most standard build. It's going to be relatively safe, but you have the opportunity to stab back. If your opponent is greedy, you insta lose. But hey, you're playing random. They won't.
I think it depends on what level you are as well. Like if you want to play random at a higher level, I think maybe Nate's thing might net you a few ladder wins. I think if you're learning the game, I would actually, as a Terran, just 2-on-1 every single matchup.
Yeah, that's probably the more appropriate answer.
It's usually what I tell Terrans.
I don't play Protoss or Zerg, so I got nothing for you. Can't rush.
Protoss, I guess, like just Protoss, maybe just like a 2-gate open, like put some pressure on or something like that, like a 2-gate opener in all matchups. I think it's pretty solid.
Proxy double robo.
You said no cheese, Nate. Easy now. That's a little bit of dairy in that one. A little bit of dairy in that one.
Yeah.
And Zerg, I don't know. Lingbane Hydra? Why not? Works with, go for the Lingbane Hydra sort of style. 2 minute 30 hatchery. Oh, we're back.
For StarCraft 1, I'll give you some Terran builds. StarCraft 1 TVP, go factory expand into 2 factory pressure, move out at 3 tanks with like 5 Marines, 3 tanks, Vulture Rally, and SCV with you. Put pressure on Protoss. Very good build. You'll be moving out before Reaver's out, so you can punish a lot of builds with that. And it's very fun to pull that off because it's very action filled instead of sitting in your base. TVT, maybe just go 2 factory, no add-on, rallying some vultures and Goliaths and go into 2 fact siege shank.
That's the Artosis build. I know that one.
That's a good one. It's a pretty solid build, and you'll be safe against cheese, and you can punish anyone who kind of screws up early on. So it can get and it feels very good if you don't kill them right away, but you still win that game. That's a good feeling. In TVZ, just go 2 racks. That's Barracks, Expand, 2nd Racks, Academy. It is the most fun and most robust build in the matchup. All right. Thank you for the question, Pylon Puffo. All right. Crispy asks, hello. Is there any way to watch the Zotac Cup games or get them re-uploaded somewhere? I've looked everywhere, but can't find them. They are deleted from Twitch. Can this have anything to do with Larva playing with his feet and beating a Chinese player? Yeah, I saw that people were looking for this. I don't know if anyone ripped them. Once upon a time, people ripped all the pro StarCraft 1 games. There were things being shared. I don't know. I do not know the answer to this question. Sorry.
I think honestly, that answer maybe yes. I think isn't Zotac it's a Hong Kong brand, I think. Something like that. It's I can't remember where it's from.
It might be something.
They might have been pressured to take down. I believe so. Yeah.
It was streamed on Twitch. Well, I mean, if they didn't back it up somewhere, if they didn't back it up anywhere else, it was just a past broadcast. They all disappear after X period of time anyway. So that could just be on them for not saving it. Was it not? Did they have their own YouTube VODs they maintained?
I honestly don't know because I casted
it's automatic.
So I don't go looking for VODs for something I just casted unless
you didn't like watching yourself, Artosis. You're just like, I just want to listen to
that's the worst.
all day long.
No worse caster than yourself. You know what I mean?
Hell
tell me about it took me a long time to ever watch my own VODs.
Woo.
Yeah. I know how that feels.
Ask the NSA. I'm sure they've got 7 copies of it.
I am the biggest Maynard hater there is. I've seen some people hate on me in Twitch chat. I hate me more than you hate me.
No one hates me as much as I hate myself.
No one hates me as much as I hate me.
I'm like, God, is that really what I sound like? Is that really what I said? Oh, I'm such an idiot.
I'm like, they pay me to do this.
Yeah, I can't believe people still give me money for this.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for the question. Sorry we couldn't be more helpful there. Sauce King asks, in regards to Zerg balance, what if they buffed the corrosive bile damage should take 4 shots to kill a battle cruiser? Also, what would need to happen?
Is this the same guy?
No, it's not. What would need to happen to make Ultras a good early game choice?
Fucking these people, they pay you money every month, and they're like, this is what I'm going to do this week.
I love it. Only half joking since Terran can do this with BC and Ghost Rushes. Cheers, episode 69, 420 Blaze it. Hey.
Nice.
Excellent. Thank you for that question.
Nice.
That's the perfect question for episode 69.
Yes.
I like
Battle cruiser killed in 4 biles. Sounds good, right, Nate?
I could touch myself to that for every night the rest of my life, Dan.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for the question, Sauce King. Flan Man asks, I love how the Korean scene has chants at the beginning of each game with a 1, 2, 3 players name fighting. Do you think it's possible to start chants like that outside of Korea? I tried last year at BlizzCon, but it didn't go well because the venue was too loud and no one could hear me. I think it has to be a cultural thing that people are aware of. Like, I've been to tournaments for StarCraft 2 and 1 in non-Korean countries where they've done it because everyone watches StarCraft and knows about it. So maybe that's what makes the difference.
Yeah,
I feel like it's something that works in a smaller studio environment.
Yeah,
and something there you go. And I feel like it's something that doesn't work in a stage of thousands. Like, as I was saying, that we're at BlizzCon last year in 2018. we had more people in the seats than we did at any of the arena days. Like it was actually just like thousands of people out there.
Yeah.
And I think they're in the West, mainly like Europe and America. People really, especially when the crowd's really amped up, get hyped for player intros, which is your boy's bread and butter. Thankfully, no one. Jeffrey was pushing hard to get rid of the player intro, and I'm like, Jeff, please, this is all I have.
To be fair,
don't take this away from me.
To be fair, Jeff was against having it done for every single map.
Yeah, every game. But it does get the crowd amped up again and make them make noise. Because I would hate for them to sit there silently.
And in defense of the player, in defense of the player introduction, having made my first ever trip to Seoul, Korea, the mecca of e-gaming, dude, it was so fucking cool. That shit's real, man. I wasn't sure if that was like, we had real. Some lizard people fakeness going on, but being there when I was casting up there, which was like I was like, that was so awesome, by the way. Like that whole setup, everything we had there was super cool. I don't know if you guys had a chance to talk about that on the Pylon show yet, but that was just really awesome. But like, yeah, no, that was super cool, super real. That was awesome to hear like everyone in the crowd just like do that on their own without
yeah, we actually didn't even touch on the fact that we had a whole new format for this year with a whole like opening week in a different country. Seems like a big oversight. God, we're bad at this.
Well,
it was awesome.
Sorry, I have to leave for KSL in like 15 minutes anyway. So
that's okay. All you guys need to know.
Sorry, guys.
All you need to know is I made the talent manager get me 700 Kit Kat bars, and they were so good because Korean Kit Kat bars are so fucking good.
But he doesn't like the green tea Kit Kat bars.
Yeah, they kept you in the green tea ones.
Like, why did he get those? Did anybody even eat them?
Yeah,
no.
It's amazing.
Did we donate them to Rapid or some shit? Like I don't even know where they went.
Maybe.
Yeah, he just kept being under the impression that we wanted variety. It's like we want pepperoni pizza, and he arrives with 3 different flavors. And I'm like, no, what are you doing? No one asked for this sweet pickle fucking beef thing. Just 3 pepperoni pizzas, Jesus.
That was for the Casters. That one. That's what TY wanted.
Oh, it's what TY wanted. Well, in that case, it's the most perfect pizza in the whole world, and
that's right.
I blessed that pizza, and I'm glad I ate so much of TY's pizza. Hopefully, I get some of these.
You did actually. You're the only one that tried that one.
I did, yeah. I actually don't mind pickle. I like pickle a lot.
Great turnaround.
I took TY's pickle. That's the story of the opening week.
Episode 69.
FNO 69 took TY's pickle. Nice.
All right. Duck asks, I'm making my first trip out to BlizzCon this year. I've been a fan of every Blizzard game at one time or another, but at my core, I just love StarCraft. Do you have any tips for getting the most out of the BlizzCon? I'm sorry, buddy. You dropped this way in the I guess we do have backed up questions. Sorry about that, Duck. I hope that you had a good time, and I hope that we said hi to you.
Yeah.
All right,
wouldn't it be nice if there was some nice, concise video that you could watch where you could get a recap of what happened at WCS? That would be really, really good.
I'm waiting for Fear Dragon's anime recap video of the finals.
Yeah, I want some My Hero Academia blasting in my ears.
Can we get some JoJo's in there this time, please?
Right. I think, but with the way Dark played, One Punch Man truly is the right one.
One punch.
Yeah. Right. Zian asks, Alpha Star question. To be fair, can we require Alpha Star to have minus 20% chance to not notice a drop coming on minimap, minus 30% to not notice a cloaked unit moving, minus 5% to misclick, to select 15 units out of 30 units? The 15 must be possible to be enclosed in one rectangle. Human has to drag box. Yeah, there's as I mentioned before, I interviewed the DeepMind guys and TLO, and had the last episode of the Pylon show was about that, and that will be released for everyone in 4 to 5 days, I believe, that we get the VOD, and you'll actually be able to get to learn about exactly this thing that you're asking, how it became more human-like. But yes, it became much more human-like. So you got what you asked for there, Zian. All right. Arthur asks, our content creators keep me watching StarCraft throughout the year, and fans can support directly, and Blizzard benefits from maintaining interest. Could Blizzard play a bigger role for the future of casters and content creators? Show matches, invitationals, input on game design features? I would say that's already the case.
We kind of addressed that earlier. Yeah.
Big chunks of money from Blizzard. I mean, they fund like so much of the things that we all do for a living. So
I could say, like, if you want to support StarCraft the most, keep buying the war chests when they come in, and if you have a Twitch Prime, keep being a part of those Prime bundles and collecting them and that sort of thing, and just like basically
Yeah.
interact and show that StarCraft's got players and people that want the microtransactions. And you know, people are like, oh, you know, there's a bunch of people out there like, oh, I don't want to give Blizzard money. It's like, well, actually, what you're doing is you're making the game feel more relevant by making it to show that it actually has a player base that cares about the game.
Watch
And also
and
same deal
play.
for tournaments.
Watch
Yeah,
and play StarCraft. Play
watch and play
StarCraft.
StarCraft.
Be a
That's the
unique
easiest thing.
user that plays at least once a month. There you go. That's the bare minimum. If you're like, you want to help StarCraft, you want to log on, play a game of Direct Strike while you're eating a bowl of cereal, do it.
Well, yeah, I buy every single thing that comes out on StarCraft, even though like I've never played co-op still, but I own all the commanders and stuff, and that's just me putting my money where my mouth is. And I love StarCraft, and I will support it with my dollars. And whatever they give me, I'm like, all right, let's do it. You know, it's a great game.
Yeah, and supporting tournaments. I mean, always, anytime they put up a match arena, and Nation Wars does it, Home Story Cup's going to have a donation drive, no doubt.
The Pylon Show, code word nacho.
Pylon Show's a match arena.
Yeah. There's already like a match arena with in-game stuff for
Nation
Home
Wars,
Story
yeah,
Cup 20. Oh, there's one for Home Story Cup as well. You can get a banner.
I've got that one too. Yep.
You can get a banner of a Marine with a bartender serving him like a mojito or some shit for your loading screen.
It's a no-brain buy. It's a no-brain buy.
Like, why would you not want that? Yeah,
that's
for
amazing.
a Zerg, there's like a Zergling sitting out of like a pool with like a Hydralisk with like sunglasses and shit on. It's dope. It's really cool. Awesome. Seriously, there's some. It's like those are your loading screen. Flex on people. Seriously, what are you guys doing?
All right, thank you for the question, my man. Foot4264 asks, would you change the map pool system for BlizzCon with so many huge maps being used? Yes.
Yeah, we went over that.
Actually, we did already go over that. He left this before, obviously. But yeah, we're all in favor of having, I think everyone on Earth is in favor of having just maps from throughout the year. So definitely agree. Thank you for the question. Hyper Turtle asks, StarCraft 2 has gradually settled into a routine every year where it gets 2 war chests, 2 co-op commanders, 1 big balance patch, and several smaller balance changes and cosmetics. Do you like the sustainability of this model, or would you prefer bolder new content and changes?
I mean, obviously, I would love for there to be more drastic content. Like, it's a lot of time and energy and costs a lot of money to do. But like more campaign stuff to have more casual players come back and log into StarCraft 2 and play it again, like another Nova combat, Nova Ops, whatever it was, something like that would be amazing. But I'm always going to prefer bolder new content and changes, because I think that when your game is 10 years old, or if you count StarCraft 1, I guess this is for StarCraft 2, you don't really want too many changes to StarCraft 1. But StarCraft 2, to freshen it up and make it relevant in like a game that's about to turn 10 next year. Bolder changes and taking risks is definitely, I think, the way to go. I think if you play it too safe, then you're not going to make too much headway. So yes, I am definitely on the other side of the spectrum for that.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I as much as they'll give me for StarCraft 2, I don't actually want anything for StarCraft 1 other than, you
got that skin pack, the carbot thing.
Yeah, no, stuff like that's great. I mean, like, obviously balance patches and stuff, I don't want that. Just reset the ladder a few times a year with some new maps, and that's good. Whatever they want to release. But as far as StarCraft 2 goes, I kind of view it in a different way, where the patches are a little bit more exciting. So yeah, I mean, I would appreciate, but I'm totally cool with how it's going right now. I think it's going very well, actually, as long as we get a patch when a meta like right now arises for a long time.
Yeah.
Thank you for the question. Wurzag asks, I really like the special episode like the Brood War or the Mapmaker one. My question here is, do you plan on doing that more often? Even maybe for a game that's not SC, like a special Warcraft 3 episode, maybe. Actually, I was thinking about doing a Warcraft 3 episode as like a way to maybe help StarCraft 2 people that want to try it out. I don't know if we're going to end up doing this or not. We'll see what the coming weeks look like. But yes, I love the big episodes like the Mapmaker one or the Brood War one. It's a very interesting thing, because for me, those are my favorite episodes like that. Well, my favorite episodes are like the ones where we just laugh a lot, basically, like just talking with friends. Those are really great. But like, as far as pieces of content, I really enjoy things like the Mapmaker episode, and the big Brood War Corrupted Cup episode I thought was really great. But the funny thing is, when you deviate like that and make an episode like that, it actually gets far less people watching it, and far less people watching it live, far less people watching it in the VOD. That it can, the Patreon can swing downwards during a time like that and stuff, which it's just kind of a weird thing. It's neither good nor bad. It just is. So yes, there will be more episodes like that. They won't be 100% like the norm or anything.
I'll be on for the Madden episode.
And if you're doing a Mortal Kombat 11 episode,
promise.
I'll be there for your Mortal Kombat 11 episode as well. Combat League Season 5 hype. Let's go.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, guys. You're so helpful. Thank you for your question, Warzag. Perigleber asks, in the past, we had a lot of events from third-party organizers like DreamHack, ESL, MLG, but these days, Blizzard itself runs most things, and people started to take it for granted, criticizing Blizzard, but not the other organizers who are doing much less than they used to do. Do you think this is fair? So the first thing that comes to mind is I know that a lot of the third-party organizers had to basically stop when WCS came out because the schedule got super filled up and everyone got really busy. So that was part of it, is actually the introduction of WCS. I think while we're very happy with WCS right now, if you remember the early years, a lot of people were kind of flaming Blizzard about that. So that's just something to throw into that. But yeah, I mean, I guess all these events, they have to just decide what they can make money on. And again, I think that I hope that we've made it clear that we appreciate what we have here within the scene. But
I think,
and I'd love to have these other ones do more tournaments, obviously. But I'm not angry at them not for doing.
I think there's a likelihood that you're going to be seeing a few, like one or a couple of those brands coming together to do more StarCraft stuff in the future for sure. But from what I understand, what Adrian told me like a year and a bit ago was that a lot of the reason why there were less stream hacks and whatnot, especially like this year, was actually scheduling. Like they just didn't have an event line up very well with WCS's schedule, and they just couldn't work it out. It wasn't because they don't want to run StarCraft. It was just because it was it just didn't work out scheduling wise. So it's not we don't want the game because no one watches it. It wasn't that because they still had a Montreal, and Montreal was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Things come down to business, I think. Do you have the time? Do you have the money? Do you think that this is the best use of those things? And I think that, there's no reason to be angry one way or another, I guess.
Yeah.
I wish the world saw the world how I see the world, but it doesn't. Oh, well.
In the lens of StarCraft.
Yeah. Thank you for the question. Alessandra asks, they say AlphaStar plays like a human, and many bots do have a personality. What human would you say AlphaStar is? Classic, Haas, Maru, Raynor, Seral, Avilo. I don't know how many of its games you guys saw, but what do you think?
I haven't seen many at all. Sorry to say. The last I saw AlphaStar was like a couple of the like European ladder replays that got leaked out there, and he didn't look like anyone in particular. It looked like a little bit of a memer, actually. That young AlphaStar.
Yeah.
He would always like at AlphaStar and all the Zerg matchups. Seem to go, okay, roach all in time, and then send queens across the map with roaches, and I'm like, who does that remind me of?
Yeah. I mean, it's just it's like it's not self-aware, but it knows how to play StarCraft and has like ideas of like, oh, if I do this, I'll just win. So it gives me no regret vibes. Yeah.
Okay.
Bash my face into a wall until the wall breaks.
Sure.
My face isn't human.
Yeah, I haven't seen enough of the games yet. Like, I'm very excited. I think maybe on Friday I'll start.
I haven't seen most of them either recently.
From what I understand, AlphaStar is very different right now, and I don't know AlphaStar right now enough to be able to tell you. Sorry to say.
I think, so I feel like I can't properly answer this, but it seems like it has its own style. From the games that I have seen, it plays very different unit comps in very different ways than any pro gamers that I've seen so far, which is actually why I'm so excited to look at the replays, because what I'm going to be doing is trying to figure out what we can actually learn from AlphaStar and take away from it to improve human play, because I think for me, that's the most exciting, interesting question from it. What can we learn from this thing that doesn't have a human brain? Thank you for the question, our very own Alessandro, creator of the show notes on the Pylon Show. All right, a couple more questions here real quick from Fear Dragon himself. What is your favorite non-monetary way for people to contribute to the StarCraft scene? Big thanks and great show, guys. Big polar bear tummy that just slid on the ice.
I'm gonna let that sit there for a
Favorite?
minute. Make him let him feel stupid for a second. For that last bit. The first part of that question was actually a really good question, and Nate kind of mentioned it earlier. The best way to non-monetarily support StarCraft is to be a viewer and a player of StarCraft. Do both those things and spread the word when a tournament is hype, or even when a tournament is just beginning, to get your friends involved as well, because hype is contagious. If your friends are watching a pretty sick tournament and you are explaining to them the basics of StarCraft, that is another way to do it. Also, if you have a lot of time and you have any skills in content producing, videos and whatnot,
Make
make some
memes.
content.
We had a
Make
good
memes, make
meme renaissance for StarCraft earlier
we had
this year.
That is
you know,
true.
we had John on Reddit, we had Future of Terror and a bunch of other guys on Twitter making the
Can we get a meme resurgence?
Petite Drogo's fucking Virgin Trap with Chad Classic was actually the
Greatest meme
funniest
ever.
thing. It was the funniest thing I have seen in like recent memory. It
We
actually
were
destroyed
dying.
me.
We
It
were dying
destroyed
backstage at
me.
that. Yeah.
Oh my god. So
The-
yes,
yeah.
yeah, everything that every other esport has: memes, dreams, fanboy screams. We want all those things
Yeah.
for StarCraft. Do all that. They're all free.
Yeah, I think giving follows and stuff to various channels just so you can keep up on the content that you want to watch. I'm not saying go watch a bunch of content you don't want to watch. Watch what you want and stay active. That's all good, important stuff. I mean, that's at the end of the day, that's how a lot of this stuff gets measured, is viewership numbers and things like that. You know, so yeah, okay. Thank you for the question. Last question here before we wrap up. Poop Feast 420 asks, Tosis, my son, say the tasteless. You're such a large pylon. Why aren't you in Six City? But the Tosis don't respond. He goes home to boot up Cardstone, puts on
this
his
is an
gamer
old one.
jacket, and says, well met, to his top deck. Alone in his heart, Tasis commits Sudoku at a Starbucks in San Bernardino.
Ripperino and Pastacino.
Ripperino, no cappuccino.
Thank
Alfredo
you for
Fettuccine.
the meme, my friend. All right. And that does it. Thank you, everyone. Once again, check out our Matcherino, matcherino.com/ThePylonShow. Our code this week is nachos. So check it out. If you want that cool gear, go ahead and order it. It's the only way you can get it. Also, our Patreon, a big thanks to all of our Patreon supporters. Check out patreon.com/ThePylonShow. And I mean, that's where you can, I don't know, support
Keep
the
the
show
dream
and keep it
alive.
going. Like that's how we fund the show and why it's here. So really a gigantic thanks to everyone involved in that.
Supporting the Pylon Show is supporting StarCraft, my friends. We talked about it all
dollar
stream long.
Every dollar on the Pylon Show Patreon is one chest compression for StarCraft. Keep that baby going.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, so a big thanks there. And of course, check out our website. That is thepylonshow.com. Yeah. Oh yeah, by the way, a big shout out to Astrofin and Manard, our $100 tier supporters on the Pylon Show. But yes, check out thepylonshow.com. It has everything you need for the Pylon Show and soon forums. If you are a Patreon member, then you're in the beta for them. So there you go. Check that out. And a big thanks to the entire staff of the Pylon Show. Especially this week, I want to give a big thanks to Body Pop and Cobra Venom for that amazing new intro that we have. That's like honestly too good. Makes the rest of the show look like crap. I can't follow it up. Yeah, so that is it for this week of the Pylon Show. Thank you guys for coming on. Maynard, where can people find you? What do you want people to know before you go?
I'm at Twitch TV Maynard. I'll be streaming in about, I don't know, like 18 hours time, some more ladder adventures, maybe replay casting, depending on how I feel. But I do a lot of subscriber replay casting, which people seem to love, and I do a lot of ladder, which people also seem to love as well, but for different reasons. People like my replay casting because I'm a decent caster. People like my ladder streams because they like to see a man break down in front of their eyes. Yeah, I am a all StarCraft streamer. I very, 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 very rarely stream other games, so it's all StarCraft all the time. Do follow, do enjoy, I hope, and sub if you really like it, because it supports me and keeps my lifestyle going strong, just being a full-time StarCraft 2 boy. And I'm at Maynard SC2 on the Twitter as well if you want to see my thoughts. I don't tweet that much, but I sure as hell called out Blizz when the video came out. In fact, apparently I was quoted in an article. Fear Dragon linked me an article that my the omission of StarCraft from the BlizzCon wrap-up was like an article-worthy thing apparently. So there it was. So yeah, those are my things to follow. Those are the only two things that I really put out there.
All right. Thank you much, Maynard. How about you, Nate?
Well, you can hit me up on Twitter at Nathanius. Feels good to say that. I'm also on Twitch.
Yes,
Twitch.tv/Nathanius. I play StarCraft pretty much every day. Also mixed up a bit, play some Apex. Whooped some serious ass as the Jets, which, as you know, for a sadist, really just ruins people's days. So bit of variety in there. And yeah, I love StarCraft.
Excellent. Thank you so much, guys. It's been a wonderful show. Again, a big cheers to all the StarCraft 2 and esports people at Blizzard and all this. We do love you guys. And yeah, that's it. We'll be back with the Pylon Show next week. So thank you everyone for watching, and make sure you tune into the KSL tonight. It starts in like less than 2 hours, so I have to run.
Whoa.
And we will be throwing up a slideshow of This Week in StarCraft. Don't forget, we have everything. Sorry I couldn't go over it this week. It's just kind of a crazy schedule this week and next. But check it out wherever you get the Pylon Show. Thank you for watching, guys. See you later.
Shout out to the Pylon Show, the greatest show on the internet.